Started.
We have Russian Ashkel covered the Russian shliach.
The Russian for the Russians? Yeah?
One of the many.
One of the many things.
One of the many shluchim.
Or one of the many things you do.
Yeah.
L'chaim, everyone.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. I want to say a special l'chaim for all those that need refuahs and yeshuas, particularly in our community and all around the world. So that Rebbe should help them. We should have refuahs and yeshuas, and particularly we're going into Zman Cheduseinu. We should have, as Matzah is, Michla, Asfosa, all the refuahs and all the yeshuas for everyone that needs it. L'chaim.
Amen. Amen. L'chaim.
We're honored today to have a very special speaker. I won't even say we have a speaker. We have somebody that's going to Farbrengen with us, a shliach. Amongst many other things, he's a shliach for the Russians. He's arov in the community. He works with the entire community. Many people in the Toronto community, anybody that knows anybody in Toronto will certainly tell you, if you ask them about Rabbi Jacobson, they'll tell you so many different things that he does and is very heavily involved in the entire community. And we were zoicha to be able to have him share some of his words of wisdom with us to inspire us in honor of Yud Aleph Nisan. Yud Aleph Nisan, we all know, is a very special time, special from the perspective, as the Rebbe would always say about the Yud Aleph Nisan Farbrengens, that it's a special appreciation that in a difficult time when everybody is involved in so many different things, nevertheless, they take the time to come to be with the Rebbe for Yud Aleph Nisan, and the Rebbe was very appreciative for all of those that came for Yud Aleph Nisan, especially knowing how difficult and how challenging it is. I just recently saw that everybody's familiar with Rabbi Lazarov in Texas. Who doesn't know Rabbi Lazarov in Texas? Rabbi Shimon Lazarov. So he tells that there was one particular Yud Aleph Nisan where everybody used to come for Yud Aleph Nisan, and many people from Eretz Yisrael came for Yud Aleph Nisan too. And somebody, one of the women of the husbands, wrote to the Rebbe that, Rebbe, I want you to know it's very challenging for us women. The women are preparing for Pesach. They're doing a lot of work, physical labor, and the husbands pick themselves up and fly away to America for 3, 4, 5 days at the time when it's most difficult time for them to do things for Pesach. So the Rebbe got that letter. So the Rebbe spoke at a Farbrengen before Yud Aleph Nisan. The Rebbe said that he wants to make it clear that without permission from your wives, you shouldn't come. And the Rebbe encouraged people not to come because it's a time when you have to be at home, and you have to be at home to help. And unless somebody, the Rebbe said, amongst other things, that unless it's something specific that somebody has to come to help prepare for Yontif. He has to come to America to get things for Yontif or things like that. But otherwise, he should stay home and help in preparation for Pesach. So Shimon Kalazarov tells that year he thought to himself he has to come for Pesach. For Yud Aleph Nisan. I mean, you have to come. Yud Aleph Nisan is a special Yontif for the Rebbe, and he has to come. How could he not come for Yud Aleph Nisan? But he arrives for Yud Aleph Nisan, and as he's coming into 770, Rabbi Chadikov sees him. So he says, Rabbi Chadikov takes one look at him and says, Shimon, weißt doch, was der Rebbe gesagt? Implying to him that, how do you come? The Rebbe doch gesagt, befeirish not to come. So he said, so I told Rabbi Chadikov that I immediately responded to Rabbi Chadikov, I came because I had to buy something here in Crown Heights for Yontif. That's why I came. And the Rebbe said, if you have to get something, obviously you have to come if it's for Yontif. So he told Rabbi Chadikov. So he says, Rabbi Chadikov smiled at him, gave him a big smile, like you're a smart aleck, you. And he says that at the Aleph Nissan Farbrengen, he said l'chaim to the Rebbe, and when he said l'chaim to the Rebbe gave him a smile too. So what he's saying is, again, my point here is to say that the Rebbe obviously cared about everybody and was concerned. And when the Rebbe said not to come, the Rebbe meant, whether it means not to come actually, b'peil mamish, or just to tell everybody how important it is to stay home and help and do what you can for your wife. But at the same time, the Rebbe felt and was very appreciative when people came for Yud Aleph Nisan to be there with the Rebbe at the time when the Rebbe celebrates his Yom Haledes. Yom Haledes is a very special time. We'll see in the Hayom Yom of Yud Aleph Nisan, there's something very special that is mentioned on the Yom Haledes, how special it is, how special a Yom Haledes is. And particularly for us, during this time of the year, since Chodesh Nisan, we say the Nasi of the day, implying and obviously indicating how special it is for us in the Siyah Yisrael, what they are for us, what they mean for us. Anybody that's learned the Maimorim, and I'm sure everybody has learned the Maimorim, we have a lot to take from, to learn from, and it's important for us to do what we can to be more mekusha to the Rebbe, to do what the Rebbe wants of us, to learn the Rebbe's Chassidus, to, particularly at this time of the year, to be able to do miftzah matzahs, to do what we can to make sure every Yid has a matzah, Al-Kopana Makazayas matzah, and your neighbors, very simple, just make sure that your neighbors around your house, everything is bashkocha pratis, you live there, you have a neighbor, make sure your neighbor has matzahs. And let's do what we can by doing those things, by learning the Rebbe's Sichas, the Rebbe's Maimorim, and particularly by following through in what the Rebbe wants of us. And at this point, to make sure that every Yid does matzahs, and every Yid that comes to a Seder, and every Yid does what they need to, l'kavod Pesach, that the Rebbe should zicher helfen, that will become more mekusha to the Rebbe, and with our skashus to the Rebbe, if we're mekusha to the Rebbe, then we'll have the koiches that the Rebbe gives us, and we'll have the koiches to be the abilities to be able to accomplish beyond our wildest imaginations. We wonder how we can do things, how we can learn Rambam, 3 parachim a day Rambam. Tell somebody like many years ago that we're going to start learning 3 parachim a day Rambam. Or imagine you have to learn not one blot a day, but the Rebbe would say we have to learn 3 daf a day or 3 blot a day. The Rebbe said learn 3 blot a day, we learn 3 blot a day, and all of a sudden we'd have the koiches to be able to do it. Whoever thought? Nobody ever touched the Rambam, and all of a sudden we're learning 3 parakim Rambam a day, or 1 perek Rambam a day. How do we do that? Because we're doing what the Rebbe wants of us, and when we do what the Rebbe wants of us, the Rebbe gives us the koiches for it, in everything that we need, for everything that we want. Though the Rebbe should help him, we should become more mekusher to the Rebbe by doing what the Rebbe wants of us. We should all have a chag kosher v'sameach. And without any further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Rabbi Jacobson, who will share with us inspiring words in honor of Yud Aleph Nisan. L'chaim, 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 l'chaim. Sound check. It's working. Okay.
It's AI. L'chaim.
Next. I make it like, but it's not.
L'chaim. Shekoyach, Rabbi Rosenfeld, for the beautiful introduction. It was an introduction, but it was really a whole Farbrengen. A bunch of things that you touched on, Kemen Farbrengen, Asach Zeit. Nicht nur Kemen, da Farbrengen. We have to Farbrengen, because the idea of Farbrengen is not just an idea, but to actually implement it and to make it part of who we are and what we are. You mentioned about going to the Rebbe and the challenge of going to the Rebbe, and so on. It reminded me of a story. I'll share the story. A story that happened with my grandfather. I had a grandfather, a Chassidus Yid, lived in Chabad. His name was Hatzvi-Bais. And somebody shared the mishpach of the person that the story happened with, shared the story with me. There was another Yid in Chabad by the name of Rabbi Perman. And this Rabbi Perman had a shvager.
Huh?
Melech.
Melech Perman?
Whatever it is.
Menashe Perman's father was Melech?
Ken gleich geguckt und ich habe
Anyway.
PDF und schnell sein.
Yeah, yes. Yosef.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. Is Rabbi Perman had a brother-in-law that encouraged him very much to come to the Rebbe very often. And one of those times that his brother-in-law was encouraging him to come to the Rebbe was for Chafov. He came for Chafov to the Rebbe. Yeah. Rabbi Gorelik, also connected to Pittsburgh. Yeah. So Rabbi Gorelik encouraged him to come to the Rebbe for Chafov. And once he came for Chafov from Eretz Yisrael, so you're going to go back, as they just the beginning of Elul, why don't you stay for Tishrei already? So he said, our family and work and this and that. But Rabbi Gorelik didn't give up so easily. He finally got his shvager, got his brother-in-law to come to the Rebbe for Chafov. So he's going to go back before Tishrei. So he spoke to him, and he agreed. He agreed that he'll stay. But the Chassid obviously doesn't do anything without asking the Rebbe, without asking the Shus, at least in such a situation, to be by the Rebbe to ask for Shus. So he wrote to the Rebbe that he wants to stay. He wants to stay till for Tishrei. He's here already. He wants to stay for Tishrei. So the Rebbe said, the Feder Shlei, you have a family, and you have work. You can't stay. He says, no, I got reshus from my wife, absolutely. I spoke to her, and that she fully agrees that I should stay. He says, what's going to be with the work? You have a lot of work, you have a lot of responsibilities in Chabad. What's going to happen with all those responsibilities? Or surrounding the responsibilities that he had, one of those responsibilities is that he had a farm. You know, some places of work, you don't show up for a day or two, a week or two, nobody notices. But when you have a farm, I'm not speaking from experience, but Zeh is mashma. If you have some cows and you don't feed them for 2 weeks, it could end up like Noach or whatever it is. You have a problem if you don't feed your animals. You don't take care of them. You don't clean up for about 2 weeks. For a month, you don't take care of them, you have a problem. So the Rebbe, I guess, knew his customer, and he knew that Rabbi Perman, that Rebbe Perman will now become the farmer till the end of Tishrei. So he said that he said to Rabbi Perman, you can't. I heard this from one of the sons. I heard this actually from Menashe. So he said, no, you can't stay because what's going to be with your animals? So it's taken care of. We took care of it already. Yes, Rebbe understood what that meant, that Mrs. Perman not just will have to cook for her family and all the other responsibilities of Tishrei, but she'll also have to take care of the cows and the roosters and whatever it is that he had. So Rebbe said, no. Yeah, we need somebody else other than your wife to look after the animals. So he said, fine, I'll take care of it. Rebbe said, no. Until the Rav. There was the Rabbi Gorelik, the Rav of Chabad, the first Rav of Chabad. Till the Rav will tell me, give me a reshima of people that are capable of taking care of animals, that they commit until Rabbi Perman comes back, that they will look after the farm. Once I get such a reshima and a commitment and in front of the Rav, a full commitment in front of the Rav that they're going to take care of the animals, that's when you could stay. But without such a commitment in front of the Rav, If I don't get a letter from the Rav that they gave the Rav a commitment, then you can't come. You can't stay. So Kachava, that's why I told him the story. So my grandfather was one of the people that agreed to look after his farm until he comes back from the Rebbe. So he shared that story with me. So Taka, he went. He got a few. My grandfather and another one or two people that went to the Rav. They made a commitment that they're going to take care of the farm until he comes back from the Rebbe. And then the Rebbe said that once the Rav sent that to the Rebbe, then the Rebbe okayed his stay for Tishrei by the Rebbe. Rabbi Rosenberg was talking about the difficulty sometimes, and that everyone wants to make sure that you ever say you want to come, you want to stay. That's very good. It's very important. But you have to make sure that your responsibilities are not neglected, responsibilities are not forgotten about, and not just your personal responsibilities. Also, to take care of the animals. The Rebbe is a teva tev lehetiv. Wants to make sure that also the animals are taken care of, and obviously not to compare the two, but that the Rebbetzin is taken care of, that she wouldn't have to have the burden of his Chassiduskeit or the difficulty of his Chassiduskeit to look after the animals. There's a lot to be said about that. But today we're celebrating Se'erev Yud Aleph Nisan. It's a huge time. It's a huge day, and it's a time that more than anything else, I think, I don't know more than anything else, but of super importance. Poshet, we begin with saying thank you to the Eibishter. Thank you to the Eibishter, Shechionu v'kiyimonu v'yonu v'zman hazeh, that the Eibishter gave us the Rebbe and gave us a connection to the Rebbe, and that we're able to celebrate this. This is a huge time. This is a great time, and we have to really be grateful to the Eibishter and to say a real thank you. Aidah. And Bakash Allah Asid, Allah Avad, Bakash Allah Asid, that our iskashus, our connection should just become stronger and better. And more than anything else, Bakash Allah Asid, that we should see that Rebbe Begashmi is the Lamata, in our goof, the Gula Mitzvah Shlema, take it from Yaz Olzaim, L'chaim.
Imo
haftei sanu v'ratzi sabanu v'rei mamtanu v'keiravtanu malkeinu lavedasecha v'shimcha gadel Aleinu karasa ayata v'char ahavtei sanu v'ratzi sabanu v'rei mamtanu Sheineis v'kidashtanu b'mitzvosecha v'keiratanu malkeinu v'dasecha v'shimcha gadel v'kadesh Aleinu karasei atata v'chartanu mikol ami mahavtei sanu Ahavtei sanu v'ratzi sabanu Mikol al sheineis v'kidashtanu b'mitzvosecha v'rei mamtanu Mikol al sheineis v'kidashtanu b'mitzvosecha v'keiravtanu malkeinu lavedasecha v'keiravtanu malkeinu lavedasecha v'shimcha gadel yakadesh Leinu karasa v'shimcha gadel yakadesh Leinu karasa Aleinu Kadesh Aleinu Karasa Beshima Gadel Agadovi Kadesh Aleinu Karasa Ya 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 La 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 L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. Such an exciting time and such a special in preparation for such a special Yom Tov. There's so many different ideas to share, so many different angles that we could Farbrengen about. Share a story that if you have WhatsApp, you might have seen the story, but I think it's a story that happened recently in the past few days. Not sure exactly what day, but within the last 2 weeks. I'll share the story. The story was shared with a Chassidus of the Rebbe that is a manal of the Mesifta in Chicago, Rabbi Halberstam. We shared that a little while ago, he was cleaning up his desk, and he happened to find an envelope that said on the envelope, Yisrael, I think if I remember correctly, Motzei Shabbos Nayach, Motzei Shabbos Nayach. He opens the envelope and he sees $1 of the Rebbe inside. And he suddenly reminded himself what this dollar is. So with many years prior, good 10 years prior, there was some type of mivtza in the Mesifta, and the big prize was $1 of the Rebbe. And a bacher by the name of Yisrael won the prize. Sruli won the prize. But he got the prize just after Tishrei, but he wasn't going home anytime soon. So instead of the bacher keeping the dollar on his own, they agreed that Rabbi Halberstam would hold on to it, and next time he would go home, he would come to Rabbi Halberstam to get the dollar and to take it home. So the bacher forgot. He forgot whatever it is. Then he never came to pick up his dollar, and now Rabbi Halberstam reminded himself that this is his dollar. Said that he decided he'll give it to him, but he was very busy. Rabbi Halberstam just made a chasana, and it's a very busy time of year, just before the end of this man, and the other busy in Yonim, so he didn't know how to contact this Ruli. He figured it's sitting for 10 years in his desk. He'll wait until the break of the Pesach break, and then he'll try to track him down, try to find him. One of the things that he was busy with, he describes, is interviewing Bachrim for the coming year to accept them and so on. So he said he's sitting on one particular Zoom the other day. It was a few days ago. And Satangim Brennan, like, why am I holding on to this dollar? I just found this dollar. I should make sure that I get it to him right away. What kind of business is that? He's thinking, but while he's having the interview, he's thinking that he has to give it to him right away. Doesn't know why, just out of nowhere, this feeling got to him, despite the fact that he found the dollar some days earlier. So that night, Rabbi Halberstam contacted the brother of this Ruli. Says, could you send me your brother's phone number? Sure enough, he sent me his brother's phone number. And he reaches out, Rabbi Halberstam reaches out to this Ruli. Says, that I have for you $1 from the Rebbe. I can't believe it. Boss is, his wife just gave birth. 2 days prior, his wife gave birth. And it was only Shvisin. The child was not perfectly well. The child had to go to NICU, and the child was connected to machines and so on. And it was a difficult situation. So last night, he says to Rabbi Halberstam, I wrote a letter to the Rebbe to ask for a bracha. This is all getting good. And today you call me. The dollar that I got 10 years ago, you call me now. So Rabbi Halberstam says, Zah-Bais, this is unbelievable. Immediately ran to the FedEx to send it off to him, and the next day the guy got it. Those are the Maisa. What's the Maisa? It's a Maisa that all of us know. No matter where we live, no matter, each Chassid knows this story. How it's unbelievable, the Rebbe's ongoing involvement in our life, an ongoing connection with us, an ongoing pushing and pulling, and particularly when we need it, when we feel that we need it, or sometimes when we don't feel that we need it, but we do need it. Or sometimes a person is we're not going to call it checked out, but sometimes a person is in a matzav that they really need. And we see each one of us has our story, our interaction, our event, that thing that happened that reminded us that we're living in Der Shvi, so that Rebbe developed, and we have a Rebbe that has gave us an agenda and has expectations, and the Rebbe makes it very clear that he's there and to help and to push and to pull, but we have to do our part. So the fellow in my community. So Rabbi Rosenfeld said accurately that I work in general with the Jewish Russian community, but we don't chase anybody out. It's not anybody that walks in. So Yid that's involved in our community is he's from Montreal. He's a Sephardic Yid. He's from Montreal and he lives nearby. So he davens way also Gishmak guy, good fellow. Growing up in Montreal, he, as you might be familiar, he's a Sephardi, so he's warm to the general idea of Yiddishkeit, but practical Yiddishkeit wasn't something that he practiced on a regular basis. One day, a relative of his says to him and another two friends, let's go to Crown Heights. From Montreal, there are different Chassidim that do trips to the Rebbe. My Schwerzel's eingesund been doing in the Rebbe Raskin and others, maybe trips to the Rebbe. So these guys decided, they're young guys. I don't know how old he was, 20, whatever, young guys. Let's go to New York. They weren't connected to any shluchim at that time in any practical, real way, other than, the superficial, external connection that they might, growing up in Montreal. So there are different Chassidim, different things. So let's go to New York. Let's go to Crown Heights. So they, without thinking too much, that was in general their mode of operation back then, without thinking too much, whatever they did. So they jumped into a car, they drove to Crown Heights. While they're there, what are we going to do there? Whatever. What are we going to do? Gizmos, hang out. They didn't go with any plan, with any type of... The fellow that is involved in my community, his name is Shlomo. It's actually his name. So he went by a different name back then, whatever. So Shlomo's relative, the one that said, let's go, he was a bit more involved. Not much more, but he was a bit more involved. So he said, you know what? It's a big deal to get, this is a number of years ago, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe, but if the story happened, something like that, 10 years ago, no, probably more, 15 years ago. It's a big deal to get $1 from the Rebbe. A challenge. Get $1 from the Rebbe. So they made it their challenge. That these four guys to see if they could each get their own $1 of the Rebbe. And they each parted ways, starting hanging around the streets of Crown Heights to find $1 of the Rebbe. So this fellow, Shlomo, that's again involved by us, found the Yid and they start talking. Where are you from? From Montreal. Where are you originally from? It's Morocco. I think it's Morocco, whichever. So, he's also from Morocco. What city you come from? I come from the same city. Whatever. My parents come from the same city. Oh, wow. Unbelievable. So Shlomo starts begging, please do me, could you please give me $1 from the Rebbe? I really would like to get $1 from the Rebbe. So what are you going to do for it? So, what do you want? So I want you to start putting on tefillin every day. Fine, I'll put on tefillin every day. There's a challenge. Could you get $1 from the Rebbe? Well, yeah, put on tefillin every day. I don't know that he thought too much about it, but his neshama definitely did, but his mind and his practical action, whatever, didn't. He says, yeah, I'm going to put on tefillin every day. So you're serious? He says, yeah. So Ebazé, come to my house. And they said, I don't know who it is. He also doesn't know who it is. He just knows that he was a guy that the Sephardi background. He gave him $1 from the Rebbe. Wow, amazing. And he met up, and the other three Pfeffer also got $1 from the Rebbe. Each in their own way, each in their own finagling. And Taka, for a while, the Shlomo started putting on tefillin every day. and everything's fine and good. One day he missed, and another day he missed. He missed another day and another day, and he stopped putting on tefillin every day. And a short while later, suddenly he's looking, and he doesn't have the dollar from the Rebbe anymore. He can't find it. Yeah, whatever. He was annoyed, but what's he going to do? Fast forward a good 10 years. He's living in Toronto. Without getting into too many details of his life, he started coming around, and he started putting on tefillin every day. And suddenly, poof, the dollar shows up again. More than 10 years, he didn't have the dollar. He couldn't find it. Then he looked for it. He couldn't find it. So I remember the day that he found the dollar. He says, I can't believe it. He says, how many places did he went from Montreal to, he wasn't in one place all the time. It's not like he lived in the same apartment, in the same house all these years and whatever. And then he misplaced it, and then he found it. So all these years that he moved all these places, and suddenly he started putting on film every day. Suddenly the dollar showed up. It's not the dollar. It's the Rebbe. I remember this is from when the Rebbe when the Rebbe was giving out dollars bagashmi. So I remember there was a couple that came, and there were all different types of characters and people that came to get dollars, and some of them didn't really know they were coming on their own. Some of them came with shluchim, and some of them came on their own. So I remember there was a couple that came to 770 that came for dollars, but they didn't know exactly where to go, the line or whatever it is. They looked, they were dressed a proper American family, dressed elegantly for the occasion of coming to the Rebbe. And they asked one of the Bachrim, where's the line? He says, oh, you came for dollars? The line. And the husband turns away. He said, we came for dollars? No, we didn't come for dollars. We didn't come for dollars. Came to see the Rebbe. But that's what we call it. Yeah, he came for dollars. People came for dollars. They got dollars. And we all know that it's not dollars. It's Rebbe. It's that second with the Rebbe. As Rebbe explained that the dollar was in order to connect it to something Gashmiyisdik. What's the point of this? This story with Rabbi Halberstam. So Baruch Hashem is Mahavana Rebbe. The Rebbe shared this vort with numerous Chassidim as we have to be happy. Darfen sein freilich. Chassidim darfen sein freilich. As wir haben als Rebbe, wir befinden sich zwischen Chassidim. We have such a Rebbe, and we're amongst Chassidim. So I heard this vort a few years ago from somebody. I asked him, where did you hear this vort? I never saw it in Chassidus and Teres Menach. I never saw this vort. Look, where'd you see? So I heard it from one of the Achim Reitzes. He told me, that's what I heard from my father. That's what he heard from the Rebbe. I said, but where? When did the Rebbe say it? So he thinks he heard the story. So this is the way his father used to tell the story. That it was after Yud Shvat, and there were a group of Bachrim that were Farbrengen, 770, and they weren't in the best of moods. But they weren't so excited. The Rebbe happened to pass by, so to speak, And he said that he saw that they're sitting there, and they're not misfachmuret, with egg on their face. With long faces, I'm sorry, not egg on their face, with long faces. So the Rebbe asked, why are you with long faces? I don't know what they said exactly. And the Rebbe didn't really wait for an answer. The Rebbe said, we have to be happy. We have such a Rebbe. We're amongst Chassidim. So this is the story the way he told me. As I helped the Rebbe, a while later, Baruch Hashem, we're living in a time that the whole Torah Shabbat Peh is becoming b'chsav. It's being printed. The chudas that come out every second day. There's another chuda and more itzvahs that keep on coming out. Unbelievable. So the family, the Reitzes family, printed the chuda, and there's a yichidus there that Rabbi Reitzes, I remember his name. You probably remember his name. I'm sorry, Yossel. He's a one. Yeah. Yossel. Yeah. So he was a teacher in the Lubavitch Yeshiva. Yeah, Yossel. So they printed a yichidus. So there were many Bachrim and Yongalayt. After they would go into yichidus, they would write down their yichidus and give it to the Rebbe to make sure that they got it right. They got the points well. So he also did. And so they printed one of the yichidus that he had by the Rebbe. And one of the lines there that the Rebbe tells him, the yichidus, so you see it's mugah from the Rebbe. So you see the Rebbe reviewed it. And he says that the Rebbe tells him in the yichidus, we have to be happy. So we can definitely say that as Chassidim of Dera Shvi, as Muhammad Azar Rebbe, but I was on Freilach. They tell a cute anecdote talking about Kfar Chabad earlier, that when the hookups started happening, when there was talk about hookups, so some of the older Chassidim, just like we're talking about AI, so Rabbi Rosenfeld was ahead of the game. He knows about AI, but some of the elder Chassidim at that time had a hard time wrapping their brain around the fact that the Rebbe will speak, and Beregi Kememra, everybody in Kfar Chabad will be able to hear the Farbrengen. Like it won't take like 3 weeks for the letter to arrive. Like how's this going to work exactly? So one of the elder Chassidim was asking one of the young guys, like, how's this going to work? Like the Rebbe will speak in New York, and we'll be over here in Kfar Chabad, we'll be able to say, it's like, well. So when the elder Chassid got it, it's like, wow, it's like this is actual, that the Beregi Kememra as the Rebbe will speak. Was that Rebbe can? Was that Rebbe can? What this Rebbe could do, could achieve, what this Rebbe could do. Was that Rebbe can? So, especially when it comes to time of Mazale Gever. The Rebbe explains when he gets to Zayin Adar, that the birthday of Moshe Rabbeinu, that because of Zayin Adar, that's what makes Adar into the great month that it is. So, Ulay Efshar Leimar Yud Aleph Nissen if that Yud Aleph Nissen is Achona to Pesach, and through that we come to Pesach, we come to Geula, through our skashrus to the Rebbe, and our commitment to the Rebbe, and our dedication to the Rebbe, we come to Geula Pratis, Geula Klolis. So may we celebrate this time properly, that it shouldn't just be a day of a celebration and we move on to go back to the cleaning, but this actually, it's 24 hours, it's 12 hours, whatever amount of time that we're able to dedicate properly to Yud Aleph Nissen, to zone in and to focus on the Rebbe, and our iskashrus to the Rebbe, and to make it a living iskashrus, a more living iskashrus, because from the perspective of the Rebbe git, and the Rebbe verbindt sich, and the Rebbe does whatever needs to be done. From our part, we have to strengthen our connection. We have to strengthen our iskashrus. As wonderful as it is, and as perfect as it is, it could always become more perfect. So l'chaim, we should strengthen it, and we should see it. We should see it practically in our life, our changes. The Rebbe should be more proud of his chassidim, and we should already see the Rebbe Gashmius l'chaim.
Ashrayinu matei chelkeinu ma'ayim v'roleinu
Yafa Yerushalayim Ashreinu matei chelkeinu yomanayim geiraleinu Yafa Yerushalayim Yashleinu matei chelkeinu umanayim geiraleinu Yafa Yerushalayim Chaim l'chaim. So, Maimer of the Rebbe, it's a Maimer of the Rebbe said, I'm Purim, this particular Maimer, but this idea is found in numerous Mamorim, as Rabbi Rosenfeld mentioned earlier in passing. So, Maimer that the Rebbe asks, with regards to the war of Amalek, says when there was a war in Amalek, Kasher Yadim Meshas Yadav, that when Moshe lifted his hands, Yidden were successful, and when he didn't, they were not successful. So on this Maimer, the Rebbe focuses on why. Why was it necessary to have Moshe lift his hands? What's the point of that? Why Dafka by Amalek? We know that the Bnei Israel had many wars, and Moshe was not involved in those wars. In the beginning, in some wars he was. So yes, he's involved in the wars, but this idea of Kasher Yadim Meshas Yadav, we only find by the war of Amalek. And what's the connection between that Moshe lifts his hands, that brought in Tzachim to Bnei Israel, and when he didn't, there was no Nitzachim. So the bulk of the Maimer, it's a deeper Maimer that Rebbe speaks about the difference between Amalek and the other Ummais, and the way to tackle them, and the way to deal with them, the way to deal with different types of challenges. They're the regular challenges that we face that are associated with our midos, because as we know, the Nefesh Bahamas is associated with the midos, with the heart, and the challenges that we face usually are the challenges are associated with emotions, with misplaced ava, or misplaced yira, or misdirected ava, or misdirected yira, that we are attracted to things that we shouldn't be attracted to, or we push away things that we shouldn't push away, and so on. So these are the general challenges that we face, and these types of challenges we can usually deal with them in an organized fashion. Al pitam b'das. You reason with your Nefesh Bahamas, this is not good for you, this is right for you, this is for your benefit, and so on and so forth. But then there's a type of challenge that reason will not work. Reason will not sway you. Reason will not change you. You know the right thing, and yet it doesn't work. This is Amalek. Yudeyas Rebbeinu Mechabed Unlimited Bay. Amalek knows. So in other words, the challenge of Amalek is not that it's difficult to do the right thing, but sorry. Nisayan. Yeah. The challenges that we face, that no matter how much logic and reason we use, just simply doesn't work. And for that, we can't use the regular tactics of being reasonable and trying to figure something out. We have to use different type of tactic. We have to use a different method to be successful. This is what Rebbe discusses at length. What's a makar? What's the reason for this? The shayrish makar of Amalek and the shayrish and the rest of the ummahs, the rest of the nations. Upon Ba'acher, beautiful mimer, as they all are. Each mimer in their own way. Then the Rebbe gets to the point of Kashem Yadim. What's the point of that Moshe has to solve? How do you fight Amalek? You can't work al pitamadas. It has to be l'mayla matamadas. It has to be beyond rhyme or reason. There has to be something. You have to awaken an energy within yourself that is not a usual one, not a rational one. So how do you do that? How is that possible? How is that doable? For this, you have to have Moshe. So it's true that with the other Muhammad's, Moshe also had to be involved. But he was involved in one way or another. In order for us to be matzliach in Avedon Malam Matamadas, we have to have the ongoing work of Moshe. And that's the idea of Moshe lifting his hands. Moshe lifting his hands causes our neshama to be elevated so that we could and activated. This time the Rebbe focuses on the different levels of the neshama, nefesh, neshama, chay yechida, nefesh. So again, the Rebbe explains. The Rebbe explains this all the different ideas in this mimer in great detail. The role of nefesh, ruach, and neshama and how they play out in our life. But then there's something higher than that. So in order to awaken, to activate our chay yechida, that's the only way that you'll be successful over Amalek. How to activate that? The only way that happens is when Moshe raises his hands. Moshe raising his hands means that your neshama becomes more activated. That's the nekuda of this mimer. So we all have this in our life, hopefully. That the regular challenges, and to deal with regular challenges, you have to think right, and you have to think proper, and you have to do the right thing. And we have to be makasher ourselves with the Rebbe. We have to do that. But there's much more than that. There's a point of the Rebbe's involvement in our life. There's a beautiful exchange that happened with Rabbi Tzvi, Olav Shalom, his wife. His wife is still around. Yeah. Whatever. One of the past Rav of Crown Heights was one of the Rabbanim in Crown Heights. So his wife came from a not Chabad family from Eretz Yisrael. At a certain point, again, back in those days, the 50s or the 60s, I'm not sure when exactly it happened, but it happened back then, in that time period, that her parents came to visit, and coming to visit wasn't that easy. Even when I was a shliach in Kfar Chabad, Rabbi Munshan is here, it's reminding me of those days in Kfar Chabad. So even then, making a phone call from Eretz Yisrael to New York was very expensive. So much more so, I could only imagine what it was like in the 50s or the 60s. So to make a phone call was very expensive, and how much more so to visit was difficult, and so on. So Mrs. Shvei's parents or mother came at some point to visit her daughter, to visit her to see how her daughter is doing, and she was there for a while. And before she was going to go back to Eretz Yisrael, she went into Yechidus. She went into the Rebbe, and while at Yechidus, she expressed what many concerned mothers would express. You know, she was worried for her daughter. Who's looking after her daughter? Obviously, she's married. I'm sure that Rabbi Tzvi was a good husband, but she was nervous, and she asked the Rebbe, I want you to, if you could look out for my daughter, to think about her, to look out for her, that everything should be okay for her. And the Rebbe's response to her was, sure, I'm doing it anyway. You don't have to ask. I do so. The Rebbe does so, with our asking, without our asking. The Rebbe is and the Rebbe does whatever he could to help every Yid, whether they asked for help, didn't ask for help. I heard from a shliach, he said, I heard this from a fellow in his community, that he used to live in the building where the Rebbe lived on President in New York. It's now a condo. So he was renting an apartment there, and he was in the apartment opposite the Rebbe's apartment. He once walked out of his apartment, and he was holding 2 bags of garbage. And the Rebbe then also walked out of his apartment. So the Rebbe asked him to give him one of the bags. Give him one of the bags. He said no. And he starts going down the steps, and the Rebbe's following him. Give me one of the bags. The Rebbe asks him. The Rebbe keeps asking, give me one of the bags. I want to help you. He's like, no, it's my garbage. I'm going to carry it to the garbage dump. And the Rebbe kept on asking him. And the Rebbe saw that he was insisting. He was adamant that he's not giving the Rebbe the bag. So the Rebbe walked ahead to open the door for him, to hold the door open for him. That's the Maisa. So I'm sure the Mashpim could speak a lot about the story that the Rebbe tries to take away our garbage, and we want to hold on to our garbage. That's a whole different story. But on a very basic level, the Rebbe Pashat thinks constantly, "Was can turn to help Yidden to make another Yid's life easier and better." Pashat Begashmius and obviously Baruch Miyus. But then there's another. That's the Shiva Amomin. The Rebbe gives us a takana. Why does the Rebbe give us a takana? The Rebbe tells us that we have to learn Rambam. Obviously, even though the Rebbe said that it's not that it's a request and so on. The way that But then how do you deal with Amalek? How do you overcome Amalek? How do you deal with those challenges that seem to be impossible? So the Rebbe explains in that manner that those challenges that seem to be impossible, the way you deal with it is because Yadam Yeshas Yadav. That through the fact that Moshe lifts his hands, that's how your Yechida is activated, and that's how you're able to do it. We see in Einurais that whether if we look at people in our communities or Talmidim or whatever type of work that you do, all of us are big tzaddikim, so I'm not going to say that, but even with ourselves, that we sometimes deal with challenges, and Baruch Hashem, we're overcome those challenges. How is it possible for us? And you ask any chassid, how do you deal with those challenges? How do you overcome those challenges? With the Rebbe's keiches. So this is the Rebbe's involvement. This is the Rebbe's doing. That Moshe lifts his hands, and through that we're able to deal with our challenges. And Baruch Hashem, we see countless Chassidim that are embracing Chassidus and are embracing and making real change in their life. It's an unbelievable phenomenon. So this is what the Rebbe is doing. This is how the Rebbe is active, and the Rebbe is doing, and the Rebbe is working in ways that are far beyond our imagination. But the fact that we're here, the fact that Baruch Hashem, and we all have brachas in our life in this area and that area, unbelievable brachas and unbelievable nisim. That's clear that the Rebbe is active in our life. So comes a day of Yud Aleph Nisan. It's a time that the Rebbe writes that it's a time of his Beidadus and his Beinanus. It's time for us to think and to meditate and to contemplate. So, by the Rebbe, this was a very serious time. It was a quiet time, so to speak, by the Rebbe. Yud Aleph Nisan. Before, there were the letters that the Rebbe would send out, but on Yud Aleph Nisan itself, it was more of a quiet time. It was a Farbrengen, obviously, a Sturm Dike Farbrengen that the Rebbe utilized for his shlichus b'chaim. His shlichus b'chaim of awakening every single Yid, and not just every single Yid, every single human being, to surrender to the Eibishter, to become bottled to the Eibishter, to live the way the Eibishter wants him to live, the way the Eibishter wants us to live. So a day of Yud Aleph Nisan, so we have to be thankful and grateful to the Eibishter. We have to be thankful and grateful to the Eibishter that he gave us such a Rebbe. But it's also a time for us to think about how we can make the Rebbe more real in our life, more active in our life, and how we could dedicate ourselves more to the Rebbe, and what the Rebbe demands from us, and what the Rebbe expects from us. And what is that more than anything else? Without bringing the Gula Mitzvah Shlema. You have a job, you have work to do. So L'chaim, at this Yud Aleph Nisan, that we should see the Rebbe by Begashmius, the Olamata, by this Yud Aleph Nisan, but we still have time, and the Rebbe said, do things quickly. We don't have much time to waste, so it's now just 24 hours a bit less before Yud Aleph Nisan. It's time for us to reconnect and deepen our connection in a very real, practical way to give the Rebbe nachas, and to fulfill our shlichus l'chaim l'chaim. B'cho Hashem chawa asisi ya'alei v'yishali eilam. B'cho Hashem chawa asisi ya'alei v'yishali eilam. B'cho Hashem chasisi ya'alei v'yishali eilam. B'cho Hashem chasisi Alevei Shalei Eilamecha Hashem Chasisi Alevei Shalei Eilamecha Hashem Chasisi Alevei Shalei Eilam 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 Hashem Chasisi Alevei Hashem Chasisi Hashem Chasisi Alevei Shalei Eilam Hashem Chasisi Alevei Shalei Eilam Hashem Chasisi Alevei Shalei Eilam Alevei Shalei Eilam Hashem Chasisi Hashem Chasisi Alevei Shalei Eilam 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 Hashem Chasisi Alevei Shalei le'elam. Hashem Chasisi, Alei Veshalei Elam, Hashem Chasisi, Alei Veshalei Elam, Hashem Chasisi, Alei Veshalei Elam. Chaim. I didn't say this earlier. It's a great honor for me to be invited. So Yishikoyach for an invitation. Come to Farbrengen with the Kahal Chassidim and Anash in this wonderful city, Chassidus Shtot, and especially that it's not the first time I was invited. So the last time that I was here was a number of years ago. And when Zalas Langiyar and Rabbi Yitkin was here, so a participant in the Farbrengen, an active participant in the Farbrengen, related to a little bit.
Only some.
Can't yet. L'chaim. I'm sure that Farbrengen weiter. L'chaim. Well said. Yeah. So one of the things that he shared then was, and again, like I said earlier about the Chassidus with Rabbi Reitzes, so this I also saw afterwards. It was also Teresh Peh that's now recorded in Teresh B'Chsav, or that's the recorded Teresh Peh that the Rebbe told the first Pesach Tavshin Yud. The Rebbe told Rabbi Berel Yunik, there was for minor mention. There were things that the Rebbe was concerned about, that I was unsure about. The Rebbe said, "You're for my people, I could rely on you," which was obviously probably the greatest compliment that anybody could get from the Rebbe. But the Rebbe says, "There was for minor mention that I could rely on you." It's huge. So Berel Yunik was a big chassid, fine. But I think that this is, and it's connected to Pittsburgh because I heard it in Pittsburgh. But I think that as we approach Yud Aleph Nisan, we have to ask ourselves this question of, yeah, sure, we're fine, we're good, and we do what we're supposed to do. But I think that a chassid has to ask himself the question, if the Rebbe feels that way about him, as Dubis Flamanna mentioned, you're from the people that I could rely on. I heard from my colleague in Toronto, Rabbi Kaplan, that his uncle, Label Kaplan, Al Bashalom, when he went to Eretz Yisrael, asked the Rebbe, this is the way I recall it. The point of the story is accurate, or the point of the Vart is accurate. Maybe some of the details I have off, but the point of it is that he asked the Rebbe who he could discuss things with. That if there are issues that come up, when we get to the Meistis or whatever it is that he asked the Rebbe who he could discuss things with, and the Rebbe told him that he could discuss with the Zusha Partizan. And I don't remember if the wording was exactly as Esfamana mentioned, but the Rebbe said that he has no agendas aside for the success, the success of the Meistis. It's natural, like in the Maimon that the Rebbe discusses, it's normal that there are certain things that, inside the Havayas Elam Hazah, the way the Rebbe created us, that we have an Nefesh Bahamis, and we Neches Darga, that we come to Sham Beguf, and the Guf has to deal with different elements of Elam Hazah, and it comes with challenges. Azeh is normal. So a certain thing, but normal also is that we become Negeh B'davar. So we have to label last Rebbe, who could I discuss things with? And different people have different negiyas, and sometimes you're not sure. You ask this person, is he giving me accurate advice? It's not accurate, it's correct, it's not correct. The Rebbe says, a number of Mamorim, Yud Shvat, Yeshavas Beganim, Chaverim, Akshivim L'Kelech, there's a Zvasa Chaver. Chaver is a person who's not jealous. Chaver is a person there's no envy, there's no agenda. I think it's is a person that as much as humanly possible has no agenda other than the Rebbe's Hatzlacha. And Hatzlacha of what the Rebbe wants. That it should be on the, so this is true in a communal way. So the Rebbe told it to label when he gave it to Zusha. The Rebbe told it to battle. The battle is without, as them as a match. But there were other Chassidim also. Fine Chassidim, good Chassidim. I don't know that the Rebbe said this to anybody else. There was man and a mensch. And I'm sure that this is not a. The Rebbe said it to Mullah Butman. The Rebbe said to Mullah Butman. To who? What do you mean?
I'll say it. I'll say it.
Okay, no, but it's part of the. I'm making a list. So I'm sure that there are people, but I don't know how many people that Rebbe said about as man that I mentioned. Taka, this is, I think, what a chassid needs to strive for. That not just to be involved in the Rebbe's activities and the Rebbe's. It's fine, it's good. Baruch Hashem, we live in a day today. For whatever reason it is, but the fact of the matter is that it's a good thing that more and more people are embracing the Rebbe's vision and the Rebbe's ideas, the Torah and the Mivtzayim and the shlichus and so on and so forth. It's a good zach. In the COR magazine this year they published different communities, the way they celebrate the Pesach Seder. It's very nice. Very nice. The Chabad, the highlights of Chabad Seder and the highlights of this. So it's shame, it's fine, it's good. Ideas from the Rebbe and people that don't necessarily also refer to themselves as Chassidim or they're not labeled as Chassidim are perfectly fine with sharing ideas from the Rebbe and Ayenes and Taka to share them properly. So it's a good thing. It's a chelik from Gilui Moshiach. It's a chelik from Gilui Elikus. Then there's a certain point of being the Menemes HaMensch. The Rebbe knows that if I ask you something, I tell you something that I could rely. This is man and a mensch that you try to put as much as you possibly can. But it's not you; it's about Vas Manzich. So this is on many different levels, and this is true for Bachrim, and it's true for Younger Light, and true for Shluchim. Heard Rabbi Munchen was made also different. When we were for Chabad, we had the schools of Farbrengen with Mendel Futterfass quite often. Yes, yeah. So I heard a story from Mendel. I made it the Kemaisa. I didn't hear this from him then. I made it the Kemaisa. And Mendel, as we all know, the legendary Chassid, was a Baal Mesiras Nefesh. He was in Siberia for a number of years for his Mesiras Nefesh, for Yiddishkeit, for Chassidus, for Chassidim, for the Rebbe. When he was in Siberia, he was a source of light as well, to inspire and to awaken his fellow Yidden that were there. Some the idea of the effect that a chassid, that a Yid has in a fellow Yid. There's a special Yid in Toronto, his name is Rabbi Rappaport. He was born in Leningrad. His parents were Chassidim. His ancestors, Misha, you know him, yeah? Otazeh, exactly. Chassidish Yid. Chassidish Yid, very special Yid. Very nechber lakelim, very quiet, unfortunately. People like him have to speak more. But when he does speak, he says beautiful, beautiful things. I appreciate it very much. As long as he's stark for many years to come. So he shared with me. We once talking about Yossel Nomeitin. Yossel Nomeitin. I'm sure you remember Yossel, yeah. So he's known because by Yossel he's known because he helped the Rebbe's parents. But this Yossel helped every year that he was able to. He had Meshuggah Ahavas Yisrael. I heard from different. Actually, this Rabbi Rappaport shared with me. Meshuggah Namaisa. So he told me Bechlal was known. He came around. Things will start happening. So in Siberia, when somebody was arrested and saw Yossel Nomeitin, they got excited. Oh, Yossel is here. Things are going to start happening because he was. People sometimes used to make down. It was supposed to be Talmud Chacham it is, and whatever, this, that. Aside for the schools that he helped the Rebbe's parents. The Rebbe told him, "Schuldig afebik, schuldig for what you did for my parents and so on." It's a huge schus. A man with unbelievable Avas Yisrael, not just theoretically, not just in theory, but practically in the concrete. When people saw him, they saw that they knew that life will become better now. In the most difficult times in the lager, in the blakada, he was able to arrange food. He pushed saved people's lives. So the Mendel came to Siberia, and wherever he was, he created, the Rebbe writes in Ayemim, Chassid Nachta Sviva. Chassid creates an environment around him. How? It's not simple. A Chassid creates an environment by speaking to people around him, by arranging a Farbrengen, by going to a Farbrengen, by schlepping up some others to go to a Farbrengen. A Chassid creates an environment. A Chassid left, by definition, something's alive, it's pumping, it's moving, so pump it. Yeah. So the Mendel comes to Siberia, and he started being Mekada of people over there, Yidden over there. There were Yidden that were not Shemer Torah mitzvahs, and the Mendel started being Mekada of them. So the Mendel shared the first time that there was a group of inmates that celebrated Yom Kippur for the first time in their life. Due to his inspiration, he told them, "Da fasten." So they did their thing. He davened with them a little bit, but for the most part, he did his own thing. He davened whatever he remembered by heart. And whatever, I don't know what he did, but he did his own thing. Ne'ila, he davened on his own. He comes matzah the fast. So they prepared a table. So it's Siberia, but they still managed, the inmates, they managed to put together a table. There was a few potatoes, some bread, obviously some, I don't know if they had beluga, but something like that they had. They had a mashke. They waited for the Mendel. They waited for the Mendel, and the Mendel took his time. It took him quite a while to be ready to sit down to finish Yom Kippur. Derech L'Maisa with Hanim Zmiris. It took him a while, but eventually he made it. Eventually he came over to the table, and they were sitting and waiting for him. They didn't start eating before the Mendel came. They started eating, and obviously they wanted to say l'chaim, and they did say l'chaim, but they wanted to pour the Mendel l'chaim. The Mendel refused. Why? L'chaim is okman nor mit atzveiten chassid. No such thing as a saying l'chaim alone. We had this with Zalman Gopin that year. I don't know if you remember, but whatever. The Mendel spoke to us about it when we were there. At the most difficult times in Siberia, when some l'chaim would be quite helpful, he never had any l'chaim. Because l'chaim is zakon ishtalin. Chassid you don't say l'chaim alone. L'chaim you only say with tatzveit and chassid. But Mendel took it to the extreme of sitting, despite the guys that they put out a table with whatever Farbrengen they were able to get and mashke, but he refused to say l'chaim with them because they're not fellow chassidim. Fine. So he ate whatever he ate, and they drank, and they ate, and no drama, everything was fine, everything was good. Then the Mendel makes it out of Russia. And he comes to the Rebbe for the first time. He's by the Rebbe for a while, and he shared this with one of his chaverim, Motel Kazliner. That he suddenly realized what's meant Avos Yisrael. How the Rebbe looks at Avos Yisrael. How the Rebbe looks at a second Yid. The Mendel said, and this is what the Mendel complained about. Didn't complain, but he was very disappointed in himself. And this is why he shared it with his friend. He said, that here he was sitting with fellow Yidden, And because in his opinion they weren't Chassidim enough, he looked at them as he didn't say L'chaim to them because they weren't Chassidim. Nicht as guckt der Rebbe auf ein zweiten Yid. This is not the Rebbe's type of Abbas Yisrael. The Rebbe's Abbas Yisrael is a Yid, Teilkeit from a Yid. And it bothered der Mendel very much. So, this is the story. This is a story. If you know anything about the Mendel, you know that Abbas Yisrael by him was one of his he with a joke, with sometimes saying something sharp, but Abbas Yisrael by him was paramount. He used to speak about it. He worked on it. He worked on it with other people that Rebbe sent him to make shalom in different places. So you can't say it's not like, there's some people that more chvezos, more maskilim. The thing is not necessarily, Abbas Yisrael is not necessarily their thing. But you can't say that about the Mendel. I don't know what it was like, but I'm sure if he went to Mesiras Nefesh to help Chassidim, and literally he got arrested, he put himself in prison basically. But he helped countless Chassidim escape from Russia. Yid from Mesiras Nefesh, not just Mesiras Nefesh or anything. Obviously, he's also helping us in Yidden. And different stories that happened with him and so on. But then he suddenly realized that the Rebbe's Abbas Yisrael is on a whole different level. It's a different level of Abbas Yisrael. It's not just to be kind. It's not just to be good. It's not just to put your life. It's a whole different. The way you look at a fellow Yid, that this fellow Yid is literally part of who I am. Seeing the fellow Yid for really who he is and what he is. Be with the Rebbe's people. So what does that mean? So obviously, on a very basic level, fine. So you learn Rambam, and you learn Chitas, you learn some Chassidus. As Rabbi Rosenfeld said earlier, very accurately, that you do this with the Rebbe's Keiches. There's a fine Yid by the name of Rabbi Breidowitz. It's not labeled as a Chassid, but he was recently speaking about the takana of learning 3 Prakim Rambam. He said, it's brutal. Brutal. How do you do it? Daf Yomi is nothing in comparison with learning 3 Prakim Rambam. But ask any Bachar Mesifta. Sure. Why? You get into Rambam's Keiches. It's a different reality. It's not a question. And if I miss a day, whatever, I'm embarrassed. It's not shaykh to miss a day. But if you probably, that's part of what we do. It's part of who we are. So there's a certain point of Zayim Rambam's Mensch in Askonos. Zayim Rambam's Mensch in our Abbas Yisrael. Zayim Rambam's Mensch in Abach in Yeshiva. What does a chassid of the Rebbe look like, as opposed to not a chassid of the Rebbe? If not, Chalila. If not Kirvanu Lefnei Har Sinai, what would you look like as Lubavitch Chassid? Lubavitch Chassid, fine. We're Chassidus, Nigla, even Gam Tzayim. There's a certain point. Or the Mendel, when he came to the Rebbe, is like Abbas Yisrael is a whole different level. Limdat Torah is at a whole different level. Everything's it's a different level. So where am I going with this? Not Chas v'Shalom as put anybody down. I'm sure we're all Chassidim and we're all big Chassidim. There's a certain point of as we approach Yud Aleph Nisan, and the Rebbe makes his cheshbon and nefesh. It worked very well with as the Rebbe makes his cheshbon and nefesh. There's the famous Herbert Weiner, the author of 9.5 Mystics, that had the schus to come to the Rebbe on many occasions and a lot of communication with the Rebbe, and a lot of chutzpah communication with the Rebbe. Fascinating character. My father spent time with in the later period of his life. He told my father that how much he regretted the things that he said to the Rebbe and he wrote to the Rebbe and so on. But still, he said things and he wrote things, and he got the Rebbe replied to him. There are very rich answers that he got from the Rebbe. So at a certain point, the Rebbe asked him if the Rebbe told him a story about Yaakov. Yeah, that the story with the Alter Rebbe that the Eibusher asks every single Yid that so many years passed by, Yaakov, where are you? So the Rebbe asks, is Herbert Weiner, do you ever ask yourself the question of Yaakov? So like a good Chacham, he asks the Rebbe, what about you?
Wow.
Do you ever ask yourself this question? So the Rebbe could have said to him, you shmendidik, go back to preschool. But the Rebbe didn't say that. The Rebbe said, yes, I do. And I answer that question based on the way my Chassidim are behaving. Right? Unbelievable. I answer that question based on the behavior of my Chassidim. Chassidus makes a lot of sense. Is mashpia makabel? If the makabel is not makabel, is mashpia melech b'layam b'chol b'chol b'nafim shalangen daskala? But that's the Rebbe answered him. So I'm sure that chelik part of the Rebbe's cheshbon and nefesh and the Rebbe's thinking on the Rebbe's yom is how do we look? And Taka, there's a lot to be proud of, and I'm sure the Rebbe is. It's unbelievable. The Am is unbelievable. Look at Bachrim and Young Light and the way we learn Chassidus. Taka, Pittsburgh, you have Rabbi Tzvi over here. Kertiba developed mitach, mitalacha, mitalinyanim, and it's unbelievable. There are unbelievable things that are taking place, and it's beautiful. But there is a certain point that we have to push ourselves. So to be more of the Rebbe's mentioned. That to align myself more, it's not just about learning Chassidus. Sure, I have to learn Chassidus, and sure I have to learn Nigla, and sure I have to live al pi Shulchan Aruch, and properly al pi Shulchan Aruch. And it's not shaykh when it's for a Chassid not to live properly al pi Shulchan Aruch. And in order to live al pi Shulchan Aruch, you have to learn Shulchan Aruch, and so on and so forth. There's a certain point that's beyond that I have no agendas. Again, no matter what my position is, no matter what my role is, no matter what my age is, my stage is, it's no difference. It applies to everybody equally. And no matter what we accomplished, what we didn't accomplish in life, it's not this. That's nicht der Wort. Certain point of that to make myself more as ich bin dem Nemes Mensch, that I'm not motivated by anything else other than doing the right thing, not just al pi halacha could I find the heter. But it's zayin dem Nemes Mensch. Zayin dem Nemes Mensch. Zayin for minor mentions, to put it in biblical terms, to be from the Anshe Mesha. So Anshe Mesha, from an Eid, whatever, it's fine. No, so that was in order to win Amalek, that was Anshe Mesha. L'chaim. Ya la la ya la la ya la la Sorry? What's the story with Mullah Boatman?
I think it was going to get Yogi. That's why I have to look it up. But I was said, okay, that's the head from my dimension. It was something.
Yeah.
Rebbe didn't say it was him. That was the my dimension.
Right.
Mullah Boatman said that he was the one who spoke to the person.
Okay. Very good. It's very good to take the Rebbe's words personally.
He was the one that had the conversation.
No, I said that. Forgive him. Definitely wasn't me. Forgive him in the ganze Herz. There's one of the things that they. Right.
Whatever it was.
Right.
Oh, yeah, there's the Rebbe's Mensch.
Right.
Whatever the cheshbon was.
Yeah, very true. Very true. The Rebbe said, I think David Raskin. There are certain people that had no. There's a certain. So another Pittsburgh also made it to the news again. Something else. Bei uns ist Neues, bei Chassidim. Oh, Allah. There was a story with Penny Herman.
Yeah.
The jam just, it was last week, 2 weeks ago, something like that.
It was past week.
This past week, yeah. Ich hatte Pittsburgh Meise.
Yeah.
So,
It's a nice story.
beautiful story, yeah. It's a mishpacha, they got involved. And then she was warned that means they don't really accept you. The jam is very nice. Here's my story. Very nice thing. So Rabbi Herman shared that he was a little child. And his parents came to Crown Heights. I remember the Pratei Maisa. You could look it up yourself. The story, the details. The way I remember it is that his mother was warned by well-meaning friends that it's very nice Chabad accepts you, but don't take it too seriously. They'll never fully accept you. Exactly, you're not really accepted. And she wrote to the Rebbe. The Rebbe nicht. First she wrote to the Rebbe didn't answer her. Zedot Nishtan, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And then a while later, in the summer of this, she came to Crown Heights, went to Chassidus, and what happened then?
And then by Farbrengen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I thought something that Rebbe said to her by Chassidus. And then by Farbrengen,
She told the same thing to the Rebbe by Chassidus. So that, I think the Chassidus was on Friday, it seems like. Or just before Shabbos.
and did I reply to her?
No. By the
Rebbe.
Shabbos Farbrengen.
Yeah. So the Shabbos Farbrengen, the little kid, wasn't by the Farbrengen. 6 years old, 7 years old. Marash.
So the Rebbe asked this father. The Rebbe turned to his father, asking him, like, where's your son? So they went together. So Hishizachi
Right.
stayed about Hishizachi. So Hishizachi went home to bring him. He brought him, and he rushed back to bring him back to the Farbrengen. When the Rebbe saw him, the Rebbe called him up, and told him, and gave him a piece of cake,
Gave him a chaim, gave him a piece of cake.
No, so she recognized that not only did the Rebbe feel that she's be able to become part of the whatever, but even more so.
Right.
At the Farbrengen with so many people. Who
They
did
gave
the
attention.
Rebbe-
Yeah. She heard the two ladies speaking.
Yeah.
Who is this kid? So the other woman answered, a very important family. So a very important family. Yeah, Zegestein. Yeah, very important family. So this is what confirmed to her as Nishnar accepted, but the Rebbe made it fully. So fine. So we could look at this as the way the Rebbe feels and the Rebbe sees.
about one particular person, but that's just an indication that the Rebbe feels about
Exactly. There's certain people that had the schools that the Rebbe expressed it to them personally, physically, but this is true about every single chassid. Chas v'shalom to think.
I think it's the other way around. For each and every one of us, the Rebbe didn't tell it to us personally. It's because we don't need to be told. It's a davar haposhut.
See, that's what the people that didn't get it, that's what they say.
Yeah, but because why did the Rebbe say just to one person?
Right.
Otherwise, the Rebbe thought that way about every person.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, this person needed to hear it. But it's about every individual.
Absolutely.
The Rebbe did it publicly, so everybody should see that.
Absolutely right. I heard from Hannah Perman. Hope he doesn't mind, and I'll share that. I'm not sure he doesn't mind.
From Toronto.
Yeah. So he told me that he heard from Rabbi Yossel Weinberg. He was close with Rabbi Weinberg. I'm sorry?
Menashe Perman was Weinberg's.
Yeah?
Weinberg married Menashe Perman Schwieger.
Oh, okay.
The second marriage.
Okay. Yeah,
That's
I figured. Right. Okay. But Chana was anyway. So Chana,
that's where
the Kesher happened.
Yeah.
I see. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Because what?
Because of Perman, Menashe Perman. So he was almost like a kid of his. Did a lot for him.
Yeah.
This whole place in South America.
Yeah. Didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that.
One of Weinberg's people did it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All up until then, on the review.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Wow. Man. So I heard from Khan.
All on tape.
I think it's out and everything is on tape. Whether you know it, you don't know it, everything's recorded, everything's next Chassim of Yernikel would be a Shura that Rabbi Rosenfeld said. So I heard from Rabbi Perman that Rabbi Weinberg had very close ties with a lot of Gvidim around the world that he used to raise money from for different causes. And he was also very close with the Safra family. Huge Gvidim and huge Baalei Tzedakah. At some point, Safra family, in South America, you related to them?
No. Not yet.
Check Ancestry, 23andMe, maybe. So at some point, it was after the Rebbe was no longer having Chassidus with people in the traditional way, that one of the Safra brothers had to go through surgery. But for whatever reason it was, he was very scared. So he called Rabbi Weinberg and he told him that he has to go through serious surgery. But he was very scared. I think if I remember correctly, it was heart surgery. And it was the beginning of the MEMS. So heart surgery was a thing already, but it was definitely not what it is. No one should need it even today. But back then it was definitely not even what it is today. And he was very scared. And he decided that the only thing that will calm him down before he goes into surgery, and the only way he'll agree to go into surgery is if he could go into Yechidus. He could have Yechidus by the Rebbe. going to Yechidus, Rebbe will give him a bracha, then he'll feel confident that he could go into surgery. But otherwise, he's not willing to do this. So he called Rabbi Weinberg and he told Rabbi Weinberg, he asked Rabbi Weinberg to arrange Yechidus. Rabbi Weinberg said that Rebbe is not seeing people now, that you can't go into Yechidus. He said, but it's very serious, it's urgent, it's Pikuach Nefesh, I need to. Rabbi Weinberg said that Rebbe is not having Yechidus, so what do we need? The Rebbe is not doing this, it's not happening. So please do me a favor. So Rabbi said, you know what? Say that, I'll ask. I'll write to the Rebbe the facts the way they are, that you asked me. And Rabbi Weinberg sat down, he wrote a letter that he asked me, and I said to him that there's no Yechidus, and he kept on insisting. So I'm just passing on the message, I'm passing on the request. Let the Rebbe, see, he was also like threatening that if he doesn't go into Yechidus, he won't go to surgery. Doesn't go to surgery, it could kill him, whatever. So, and that would be, so to speak, his fault. So Rabbi Weinberg shared the information the way he was asked, or whatever information he decided to share with the Rebbe, he did, and he sent it to the Rebbe. Oh, part of that was also he's willing to pay anything. He's willing to pay whatever amount the Rebbe wants, and he'll make it worthwhile. And the Rebbe answered, "B'shum efer not, b'shum efer not." And part of the answer of that he explained to Rabbi Weinberg, why not? Or he wrote to the why not? Because what's going to happen tomorrow when an almana comes and asks for Yechidus? So, does the Rebbe not care about the Safras? Chas v'sholom, sure he does. But how sensitive the Rebbe is when he gets to there's an answer. Lately also the answers that are being published, unbelievable. Somebody asked the Rebbe, a woman asked the Rebbe that the Rebbe should be sandik for her child. You saw the answer. Meine. Somebody asked, you saw. It's a very sharp answer. The Rebbe writes to her, why would you want to do something that would make others jealous of you? The woman asked that the Rebbe should be a sandik for her baby, for her son. It's not practical for now, but regardless, why would you want to do something that would make others envious of you? In other words, the Rebbe's sensitivity of not just the cheshbenis that the Rebbe takes him before the Rebbe does anything. So the Rebbe gives a kid like that to Penny Herman. Because he's an important family? Sure, he's an important family, because the way I see it is that the Rebbe does certain things and expresses himself in certain ways that if you're ever doubting for a moment, if there's ever a machshava zara that goes through your mind, that the Rebbe doesn't notice, and the Rebbe is whatever the machshava zara might be, the Rebbe addressed it with this person or that person or the other person, and if it's true of that person, it's true of you too. It's not like the great schusim that people had. They had great schusims. The Rebbe says about Beryl Yunik, about this one, of that one. It's a minor mention, or the Rebbe says, where was he? Rabbi Emmanuel Shachat also shared the same thing, that how the Rebbe asked him where was Yenikol. I was looking for Yenikol by the Farbrengen. It's a little kid, a little child. I was looking for Farbrengen. Right. So Rebbe notices and feels and cares every single chassid, and experiences every single chassid. And not just because of absolute Avos Yisrael, and not just because the Rebbe is so holy and has Ruach HaKodesh and Nevuah and so on, but the Rebbe has an agenda. The Rebbe has an agenda that we should be proper chassidim, that we should become elevated, that we should become different type of people. We should be different type of people. So what does it take? So Kumta Yudalfinis, sorry? He had the surgery and he survived, Baruch Hashem, for many years after.
And they gave him a lot of tzedakah.
The Rebbe gave him a bracha. But he didn't get the yichidus.
Yeah. And he still does. Now it's his family, not him.
Yeah, but he didn't get the yichidus. But I'm sure he got the Rebbe's brachos. There's nothing to talk about. And when that moment comes, and how that moment comes, when the Rebbe shares it, how the Rebbe expresses it, the Rebbe has his koshbenis. Rebbe Rosenfeld said earlier, the Rebbe has his koshbenis, when exactly and how exactly. But each one of us in our own life, in our own situation, this Yisrael, this Israeli that got the dollar from the Rebbe after 10 years at sitting in Rabbi Halberstam's desk. It's an unbelievable thing. Punkt a day after, 2 days after his wife gives birth to a baby that has medical issues, and immediately after they got the dollar, they left the hospital. The baby's fine, Baruch Hashem. Unbelievable. Each person in their way, and there's this story with the people on shlichus. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. From the Rebbe's perspective. Now the question is from our perspective. So I had my one of my stories. My kids ask me, stories that happen with you and the Rebbe. People in the community ask. So, did you ever speak to the Rebbe? You ever speak to the Rebbe? Like they tried to explain. So you saw the Rebbe? Yeah, I saw the Rebbe. It's like that in itself takes. It's like the question that the computer keeps asking you: Are you a robot? So are you human? So are you human? Every once in a while, you have to check that box that you're human. So you saw the Rebbe. You're like, yeah, you saw the Rebbe. Okay, that's already my machshavas zaras. But so yeah, I grew up. Then I went to the Rebbe every Shabbos and every weekday, and so it was always in 770. Tagay and Tagoyis. So what kind of stories did you have with them? Stories still happening. Hopefully, hopefully that's l'chaim nachas. So the Chavod Yudalef Nisan Tafshin Lamed Tes. It's a few years ago already. But Olatera, there's a yeshiva in Crown Heights called Olatera. Cheder in Crown Heights called Olatera. I don't know if everybody knows about it. So they used to have a beautiful Mishnayos Baal Peh contest from Chavdala Tevis until Yudalef Nisan. To learn Mishnayos Baal Peh, Mishnayos Gemara Tanya Baal Peh, but it was called the Mishnayos Baal Peh contest as a matana for the Rebbe's Yom Haledos. I was a young child then, but my parents encouraged me, and I guess it was a chinuch that I had in the environment in my house. So I used to wake up early, many mornings, and to learn Mishnayos Baal Peh. And I remember that I finished Masechta Brachos Baal Peh. Again, I was a young child. I finished Masechta Brachos Baal Peh. It was a Friday morning. That Friday night, I came to shul, the 770, and my father's locker, where I would place my coat. Today, there are no longer lockers there. I don't even know what they have there, but it's right next to the elevator, right next to the steps where the Rebbe used to come down. What's there? The door is locked. My father told me that's where the Avdim used to daven. You remember that such thing? Yeah. But I don't even know what's there. There was even a room. Con Edison room. There was a room. So there used to be lockers there. That's where my father's locker was. So I'm standing there right opposite the stairs where the Rebbe used to come down. Now it's closed off. It's not closed off, but there's a door. But then there was no door. So I'm standing in that area right by the stairs, by the bottom of the stairs, taking my coat off to place it in the locker. The locker place, it couldn't move. So I was taking it off. I was taking my coat off early. The minhag Yamot Given that was customary that children used to be on top of the steps, and right when the Rebbe used to open the door to come down to shul, they used to run down, run into 770 and scream Shah, and that's how everybody knew that the Rebbe was coming in. And then it became also a thing to prank people, to run into 770 and say Shah, even though the Rebbe wasn't coming in. So it's a different parsha. But so I'm standing there, and some of the kids that are there, they run down. So I just squeeze back to the wall to wait for the Rebbe to pass. And the Rebbe walks down the steps, and I'm standing mamash opposite the steps. The Rebbe walks down, and when he comes to the floor, to the ground, the Rebbe stops and he stands looking at me, which felt like forever, a few seconds, Mistama. And the Rebbe said out loud, "Good Shabbos," and continued walking. Dosa de Maisa. It was Friday night. The Rebbe said Good Shabbos, and the Rebbe continued walking. There were people that came running back in to see, because it took a few seconds for the Rebbe to walk out. And what's the but? That it was the only time that the Rebbe told me Good Shabbos out loud. And the only time that the Rebbe stopped like that in front of me. I was in 770 a lot. But the way I took it is that when you work, I didn't notify the Rebbe. I don't know if my father did. If my father did, he never told me. I doubt that he did. It's simply because I think that if he would have written to the Rebbe, he would have told me. If not then, later on. It's a story that was discussed in my family. But when we approach Yud Aleph Nisan, we have to ask ourselves, not just for sure it's a day that we have to celebrate, and now we're Skashra, so we have to celebrate. And again, we have to Shevach Ha'idah to the Eibishter. We have to be grateful to the Eibishter and thank the Eibishter for giving us a Rebbe, for giving us a connection to the Rebbe, for giving us a connection the way we have our connection. Each one of us has our unique connection and our unique relationship and our unique bond, and something that has to be celebrated and has to be cherished. We have to be grateful for it, not to take it for granted, not to be an ingrate, to be a kafir teva, but much more than that. I think there's a point of making space in your life, making changes in your life. Maybe it's not necessarily dramatic. It's not necessarily something that happens overnight, but step after step, but day after day. I remember then the way I heard of it for that Masechta Mishnah is probably like I never heard of it in my life. Maybe for smicha, probably not. But the work, they're waking up early and they're working on it. And I think that this is something that's important. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but that's what it's about. It's not about easy. So it has to be besimcha, it has to be full of energy, full of life, full of vitality. The Rebbe tries to elevate us, and it tries to cause us and bring us to be more able and to learn more Torah, not just to learn more Torah, to allow Torah to affect us properly, to daven via Chassidus davening, to go on the way a Chassid has to daven, to have Abbas Yisrael the way a Chassid needs to have Abbas Yisrael, to live properly. This is Kochen and Geula, Mashiach, to bring in the Geula, to bring the Geula. This is to live with the Geula. These are what's the Rebbe's agenda. We know the Rebbe's agenda. The Rebbe's agenda is very, very clear. The Rebbe said it. He makes his agenda very, very clear. And if do we have a different agenda? Chas v'shalom to have a different agenda. So we have a guf gashmis, we have to eat and so on. Yeah, say that. What gives us our vitality, our energy, what excites us? And the time of Yud Aleph Nisan, we could align ourselves more with the Rebbe. We could align ourselves more with what the Rebbe wants from us and how the Rebbe wants us to live. And it's a teva for Alaman. It's a teva for us. L'chaim, l'chaim. Yedo ki ata shimcha Hashem levadecha avayel yeinalka la'aretz yedo ki ata shimcha Hashem levadecha.
How's the small house Center Street? It's still there. Still davening there. Somebody lives there. I remember we used to daven there every Wednesday night. Okay, good to see you. Say hello to all my friends from your show. What about this call office? Waiting for you.
Especially when he goes
Rest. I could get to work. Now the real work starts. The inner work. What about your time? What sagst du? Somebody else's problem.
Saying that was like I heard about some Shem Sashi at one time on Shabbos morning. Everyone did it about stop by the it was very, very hot. So I thought so then he did 770, he asked that when he did double asking or show himself how to come, they should send him, they should tell him to come to the shliach at his door. So it was like, what's number one? It's like, what's that? So one of them came, they knocked on the door, and said, you go back to the mikvah and see if you cool down. So that was like the story. So that says all the people were getting nervous. At one time, we could act like, what's that? This is not the Rebbe's Egelachs. The who want to pay from anyone? Sign the Egelach of your whole chicken. Not the Rebbe's Egelach.
It's a very sharp answer to someone that he gave something to the Rebbe and the Rebbe didn't accept it. You know what I'm talking about? Family printed it. I heard that the family printed it. Somebody gave a matana to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe sent it back. The Rebbe didn't accept it. So he wrote to the Rebbe, why didn't you accept it? Kollel, the Rebbe accepted matanas. So why don't you accept matanas? Why don't you accept matanas? The Rebbe writes a few nekudas. One of the nekudas are because I don't want to become bachayv to you. I know you're giving me matana, and now I'm going to owe you. I don't want to owe you anything. It's this is it's a whole different kind of that to do something for the Rebbe that the Rebbe doesn't have to owe you anything. It's like I did this, and now you have to do that. It's Hatsheni, share a personal story, personal one with my father. When my mother was expecting me, actually, the seder back then was that one of the times that people could go into Chassidus was if a woman was expecting before birth, they were able to go into Chassidus. So my parents went into Chassidus. And one of the things that Rebbe told us, I think it's an important nekuda to share. One of the things that the Rebbe told my parents gave a tzadel, my father, I guess, gave a tzadel, I don't know. And the Rebbe said to my father, you didn't include in your letter that you work on the sichos. And as outside, a time like this, in other words, my mother's expecting, whatever, a time like this, you have to mention schusim that you have. My father had the schus that he worked with Rebbe sichos. So Rebbe told him. Rebbe said, it's very much description of my father, Shalom. The Shabbos going to do it. The Shabbos going to show the Rabbis of the Sichos. Outside, and as outside, Dafran the Monim Schusim. A time like this, you have to. So there's a certain point. So the Rebbe encouraged my father. He told my father, so why didn't you write anything? When it's not changing, there's a certain point. There were certain people. You did something to the Rebbe. Okay, fine. I'll do something to the Rebbe. And I'll pay up. Fine. And then the Rebbe pays. The Rebbe doesn't not pay. There's a certain point that I'm doing something for the Rebbe simply because I'm doing it for the Rebbe, not because then I'll have an account, and not because whatever I want to have. Something the Rebbe needs something to be done. I'll do something. The Rebbe wants me to behave a certain way, so I'll behave a certain way. The Rebbe wants to talk, maybe again. Obviously, talk about the way we sit and learn. We know what the Rebbe. It's not a secret what the Rebbe wants from us. It's not a secret. None of it's a secret. The Rebbe said, make it very, very clear. That's an interesting point. The Rebbe said that was also the point of Davdraskin, a man that with Kollel Eretz Hatzvi. Again, this is from Shlomo Zarchi, that he never wrote his tzaras to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe once commented about it. Again, this is I'm repeating from Shlomo. It's a person that suffers so much and still he doesn't write to the Rebbe about it. Could say to that he was involved in all the meistus and all the whatever. There's so many different things for the Rebbe. Okay. And he had so many tzaras, Rahman al-Islam, no one should know such things. The point is not chas v'shalom that You could write, if a person has challenges, you could write to the Rebbe. It's not what I'm trying to encourage. We shouldn't write our issues to the Rebbe. But the point is that we have to commit a surrender. It's not bittul to the Rebbe. Bottle to the Rebbe and bottle to what the Rebbe wants, and to live our life that way. And it's not simple. It's not simple. So not chas v'shalom in a tzabrach nebeg, not chas v'shalom in a way of breaking anybody, but on the contrary, to lift ourselves up and to allow the Rebbe to lift us up, to allow our lives to be the way that Rebbe wants it to be. It's a shliach that shared with me. It's a frightening thing. It happened. The story happened a number of years ago, but the person that it happened with shared it with me. He lives not in North America. We'll leave it at that. It's a shliach. He's a shliach where his father's a shliach. So that's already. And it happened over there. Unfortunately, something that happened in other places as well. Something called politics. I don't know if you know what it is, but there's an animal called. It's a non-kosher animal called politics. And there were some issues between his father and some other shluchim over there. It's an issue. But at a certain point, his father and him and those other shluchim decided that despite the issues and despite the tension and despite whatever's going on, as far as Chassidim from Rebbe, it's not okay. But they weren't yet ready to resolve their challenges and their difficulties and whatever. But they did decide that they're going to start learning Hecholzu together. Get together, not to discuss anything, not to argue about anything, because it was beyond discussion at that point, unfortunately. But to get together, Pasha, to learn Hecholzu together. And they did it, and it wasn't, and they did it for quite a tkufa. After a while that they were learning Hecholzu together, it was a gefährliche story that happened. The son of the shliach shared with me. He was at home by his parents' house. He had his own house, but one night, late at night, he was in his parents' house. And 3 armed criminals broke into the house. And he was on the ground floor. Whatever. He was where they broke in, but they didn't really pay much attention to him. They went to his parents' bedroom. And they were looking, or whatever they thought, whatever they were looking. His mother started screaming. His father was there, but his mother started screaming. It was very frightening. He started screaming. He first tried to fight with them, whatever, but they 3 guys armed with guns out. And they went out to, his mother started screaming. They tried to shoot, but their guns jammed, or at least one of them, the guns jammed, and they all 3 ran away. And Baruch Hashem, everything was fine. Other than the horror. This young shliach shared with me. Again, he shared it with me personally, not that his father was sure that the reason that was Pasha Nisei Nisim and nothing happened to them was because of the effort recently that they had of learning Hecholzu together. Yeah, so things weren't perfect yet, and they couldn't yet talk the way things were, but they were able to sit and learn together. The fact that he went through this thing, no one should even know anything close to that. But this in itself was a great push to help work things out, to make things, to lower the flames. What's the point of this story? Obviously, Yisrael is an example, because this is something that obviously sort of bothers the Rebbe so much and affects the Rebbe so much. The Rebbe spoke about it so much, and the Rebbe spoke about it with such pain and so often. And what does it take? It takes work. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. The Mendel was a huge Balavis Yisrael, whatever. He was an expert in that. He lived with that. So Chassidus Avas Yisrael, like a real chassid. And yet, when it comes to the Rebbe, he realizes that he felt that what he had was nothing in comparison with what the Rebbe demands. We're Chassidim Derech Shvi. I'm not saying this in any We have a huge schos and an unbelievable, it's unbelievable. It's mamish unbelievable. And how much the Rebbe keeps on giving and pouring, literally pouring. Was man sich von uns, sich weglegen auf der Seite. To make space. So there's one fellow that reminded me that I was here, but then he said that he wasn't here when I was here. I don't know what your name is, but what's your name? You with the long black beard. What's your name? Moshe. Yeah, Moshe. What's your last name? Mash. Moshe Mash. Very good. Mash is a good. I don't know how you spell it, but it's a good. The Rebbe sometimes uses sign letters. Mem Shin. That's how you spell your last name. Mem Shin. Oh, so you see, Yudalfness and connection.
Being there was so painful. Right after I moved there, I was driving it back to the airport. Someone reminded me that I was here once before. I said, it's a good dezach. I said, why? It's like a brother from Hashem, you come to the city, you come back again. So I'm glad that he's coming back again.
Classic. Very good. That's not what I was getting at, but there's a story that I heard from Rabbi Gansberg, Geschmack Wort. Tavshan Lamed, it's actually a Pesach story. Tavshan Lamed, it was decided in the that the Bachrim would no longer be allowed into the Rebbe Seder. Because it became chaotic. It was too much. People was too crowded. Whatever it is, the Bachrim don't give up so easy. So Rabbi Yossel Gansberg in Toronto, he shared with me that he and another few Bachrim were standing. So many of the Bachrim, many whatever. Finally, were told you can't, no coming in, no going to the Rebbe Seder, no going to the Rebbe Seder. But he and a few other Chassidus Bachrim were standing upstairs by the door, hoping beyond hope. Maybe Efshar maybe they'll be able to get into the Seder. So as they're standing there, the Rebbetzin walked out of the apartment upstairs. She walked down to the Rebbe's room. She was there for a few minutes, and after a few minutes, she came upstairs, and she said to the Bachrim, Rabbi Gansberg said, this is Bezal Loshen, macht Ort for the guest. Macht Ort for the guest. And a few seconds later, the Rebbe came up, and the Rebbetzin was holding the door open for the Rebbe. The Rebbe walked in, and the Rebbetzin then motioned to the Bachrim to come in as well. Those few Bachrim that were standing there, she motioned to them to come in, and then she locked the door. That's the door. So for him, obviously, it's a special kiddah from the Rebbetzin. But I think that's also a vort, the way she expressed herself. So you could say, she was being polite. Acht for the guest. It's like a nice way of saying, get out of the way. Lasha should say, rukt sich. It's not nice. It's not polite. It's not get weg. Like what should she say? Fine, man. Macht Ort for the guest. It's also, I don't know, Medaik. Yeah, I think it could be Medaik in the Rebbetzins Loshen. He said that it was Bezal Loshen, that he remembers the Loshen accurately. Macht Ort for the guest. So the Rebbe said numerous times that if you want me to come alone, I could come alone. But if you want me to come with those that come, that's Shnetzvei when I get to be Masada Kedushin, the Rebbe said when I get to Chuppahs. If you want me to come alone is one thing, but if you want me to come with those that I come, then it's a different thing. So the Rebbetzin said, Achtort for the guest. There's a lot you could read into it. Maybe there was a guest, whatever. It's a lot that could be said about what her expression. But there's a certain point from Achtort, because really that's what it's about. So kommt Yidalef Nissen, if we want to experience Geula of Pesach, Geula of Klolis, Geula of Protis, darf machen Ort. Taki, we're busy and we're very smart and we're very capable and Bali Choshim, and we have to recognize that. We have to realize that. But more than anything else, Mansach von uns is Mindaf machen Ort. That it shouldn't be our agenda. It shouldn't be our cheshbenis. That was on the Rebbe's cheshben. What's the Rebbe's cheshben? How does the Rebbe want me to live in a certain situation? How does the Rebbe want me to react, to behave, to live my life? How does the Rebbe want me to live my life? So kommt Yud Aleph Nissen, and Yud Aleph, and the Rebbe speaks about the greatness of Yud Aleph. It's Esed, and it's Echad, and it's bringing the Echad into Esed, and so on and so forth. The idea of bringing the greatest elements of Holocaust. You say, Miyani, Yomani, how's it Shaykh Umetzias? How's it Shaykh Umetzias? Who are we? Saying such major things? Are we capable of such things? Maybe we're capable because we're put in this situation. It's not about who we are. It's about the shlichus that was given to us. The Rebbe is machlit when we should be born, and to who we should be born, and what type of kaiches we should have, what type of chushim we should have, what type of talents, what type of abilities. Start with these fake cheshbenos of it. I'm not capable of this, and it's not for me, and it's not right for me, and who am I b'chlal, and who hired me. That's all a sheker. It's all a sheker. Maybe it's true that we have to have, but it's not real bittul. That's not bittul. That's yeshus. I see myself in a certain way. It takes much more bittul to do what has to be done, as opposed to shying away with fake yeshus. That's not real. That's not real bittul. It's real yeshus. It's fake bittul. To make space in your life, to make space in your thinking for the Rebbe's thinking, and there's no way for it to happen by itself. And so sometimes we don't know. So Gven Ayid, I don't know why I thought of the story, but I thought of the story. There was a character in Toronto. His name was Ralph. You know anybody by the name of Ralph? There are certain characters by the name Ralph. I don't mean personal. If you have an uncle, your father, whatever. I'm not Chas v'Shalom putting anybody down, but there's a certain Ralph character. You have Toronto. You have characters like that in Pittsburgh. Sorry. Rocket Ralph. It's a movie. They didn't show it in Alatera. They showed other things. Whatever it is. There's a character. A number of years ago, he passed away. He was best known in Toronto for being at every Blue Jays game. Otherwise, he was a character. He used to come around to yeshiva sometimes. It's a character on the Jewish landscape of Toronto. He passed away a mes mitzvah. He had no family. Nobody really knew much about him, other than baseball fans he was at every Blue Jay game. Nobody really knew about him. So there's a fine yid in Toronto by the name of Zell Newman, son-in-law of Rabbi Hirschsprung, more well known for being the MC at the early Has concerts. But he's quite an askan. He's quite a famous pisgam. If you ain't seen nothing yet, or whatever, something like that from the Has. You know anybody? You know what I'm talking about? That's right. Yeah. Baruch Hashem. So, anyways, all known as a special yid, very active in many different areas. A talented fellow. So he heard that Ralph passed away. I don't know how he heard, but he did, and he let the word out, and it was Erev Yom Tov, maybe Erev Yom Kippur. I think it was Erev Yom Kippur.
Talking about the Meis Mitzvah. Talking about the Meis Mitzvah.
Oh yeah, tomorrow morning.
Exciting.
If you guys are keep going.
So Ralph passed away, and Zell knew. I think it was Erev Yom Kippur, Taka. So Zell sends out a message to wherever he could send out messages. It was before WhatsApp. It became WhatsApp. But kids, he sent out messages to Kehillis and whatever it is. A mes mitzvah. Person has no family. Whatever. The Levaya is at this time. We should please come. 150 people showed up to the Levaya. At the end of the Levaya, after everybody dispersed, there was one of the big, Zell Newman himself is a mover and shaker in Toronto, but there was another mover and shaker there. So he shared with Zale and his son. That's how I heard the story. He shared with Zale and his sons. I'll tell you why I'm here. So Chashiv, a guy and a Gvir and a guy that is involved in a lot of good causes in Toronto. Very important person. So a number of years ago, one of the organizations that he's involved with did something to him that he found disrespectful, he found hurtful, whatever, he found upsetting. And he decided that he's gonna, first he decided that he's walking away from that organization, no longer gonna have anything to do with them. But then as days passed, his anger started growing. He said, no, so nish genug that I'm just walking away from them. I'm not going to give them any funds anymore, and so on and so forth. I'm going to bring them down. I'm going to destroy them. He didn't say what organization it was. I don't know. He shared it with Zale Newman. His Zale and his son Chaim were there. Zale's son Chaim was there, and he shared it with the two of them, and Chaim shared it with the story. So I don't know what I don't even know who the person was, whatever it is. Said that he decided that he's going to take this organization and he's going to destroy it. He's going to put all his effort and all his energy that he did up until then to help them. He's going to do whatever he could to destroy them. And then he starts having dreams of the Rebbe coming to him. And the Rebbe tells him in his dream, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Laws up. And he's arguing with the Rebbe in his dream. He's arguing with the Rebbe. They've done such a terrible thing, and they're such horrible people, and so on and so forth. The terrible, horrible. And the Rebbe keeps on telling him, laws up. And he keeps on arguing till the Rebbe tells him, you know what? Discuss it with Ralph. Now, Ralph, as I said, he's a character. He's a, I don't know what other word to use for him.
An entity.
An entity. Maybe he's related to Charlie. That kind of thing. So the Rebbe tells him in his dream, go discuss it with Ralph. Now, everybody knows Ralph. Definitely that part of Toronto, everybody knows Ralph. So he approaches Ralph. Ralph, I have a question for you. So what? This organization did a terrible thing, and I want to stop them. I want to stop them doing. And Ralph says, without batting an eye, he says, leave them alone. Leave them alone. He says, but there's such a, he tries to argue with Ralph, but Ralph doesn't budge. It's not surprising. Ralph doesn't budge. And Ralph, surprisingly, he said, calmed him down. He said, it's okay. It's fine. He calmed him down, took him off his day. And he says, and that's what I did. This is the least I can do. He said, when he got the message that he passed away, that Ralph passed away, the least I could do is to pay the final respects as they refer to it. So stop. I'm asking with Ralph. I'm asking with Ralph. I'm asking with Nevin. So what type of neshamas this is? Who knows? What type of people these are? They're talking about Ralph, Charlie. I think it's Langa Yorin. Yeah, so he used to come by the Rebbe no matter what, how much the Rebbe was not encouraging the singing by Keshel Bracha. He used to pass by the Rebbe by Keshel Bracha. Every Keshel Bracha used to come to the Rebbe with 3 cups of wine. You remember this? You remember? The Rebbe used to pour into the first cup. He used to scream out Chachma. The second cup Bina. The third cup Das. And the Rebbe would smile usually and make with his eyes. It was like, well, no matter what was going on, even if the Rebbe was not encouraging the singing or not, whatever, but Charlie got Akira with a smile, with a. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? What's the point of this? We each have our shlichus, and we each have our keches, and we each have our chushim. But chas v'shalom to think that it's ours. And ich kann mit dem Thomas Chvil. It's mine. I'll do with it whatever I want. Chas v'shalom. It's nicht deine. So Sicha, the Rebbe speaks about Bachim Yeshiva. Bachim Yeshiva is a very easy target. So Bachim Yeshiva, the Rebbe speaks about that your time is not your time. Your time belongs to Allah. It's not yours. It's not yours. It belongs to Allah. So you're making a cheshbon of what you're going to do with your time during the breath. It's not yours, b'chlal. Right? So exactly, Bachim are an easy target, but but our keches, our chushim, and chushim that the Eibishter gave us, for a certain purpose, and for a certain direction, for a certain objective. What's the objective? The Rebbe made the objective very clear. That's our job. Just saw a letter from the Rebbe actually from Tavshin Yud. Somebody writes to the Rebbe. I don't know what he wrote, but from the Rebbe's answer, you see that he was very, he felt very low places. So the Rebbe writes to him, I don't remember the exact lashon, but the teichen is, what's the point of describing how low you are? As low as you are, the Shechina fell even lower. Mele, you have to do whatever you could to sarush schleppen. It's a different perspective. So you could focus on how low you are, whether it's how depressed you are, Chalilo, or whatever it is, whatever it is, or focus on what's the davston. You have a job. So, word from Rabbi Levi, associated also with the Rebbe's capital. What's the pasuk over there? Shenu. Baruch Hashem Shalom Nesonono Terev Lishineim. What? What's this? I look like I need Mordechai. I'm good. Thank you.
LD wants to say L'chaim. He doesn't want to say himself.
Was say that? Ja, aber seht, helfen wir zu nicht, das kann ich. L'chaim. It's time to shut up. L'chaim. Genug gebolbet. L'chaim.
I see a drink.
How much? What do you say? So Zabart the Rebbe. You'll tell me when time's up, yeah?
Which time?
Whatever. Anytime.
7:15 in the morning.
Got it. Okay, got it. So there's one of the psukim in the Rebbe's capital, the Rebbe's upcoming capital, is Baruch Hashem, Shaloi Nesononu Teref Lishneihem. Thank Hashem that he didn't do a simple translation of these words, is that we weren't like prey in their teeth. That our soul was saved like a bird. So these are words, interesting words. And it's interesting that I didn't yet see the kavitz. I don't know if it went around. I didn't see it. Kavitz of Biyurim on the capital. You saw the kavitz already? Excuse me. You just got it. In English there is? What, the kavitz of Chassidus? Oh, yeah?
The excerpt from the film.
Okay, but that's not the...
Not
I'm talking about the Biyurim. Like every year they give out
They made it.
a sefer. I'm sure. I'm sure. I didn't see it, but I looked. I can't say that I looked. I searched very seriously, but I looked quickly to see what I can find Chassidus on this capital. Very little. Was? Finished. So there's Purim Chavav that Rebbe spoke. I didn't see. I didn't see any kavitz. I'm saying. I hope that. I'm assuming that it will be put together. I heard from my cousin Simon that they wrote to the Rebbe Tavshin Membeis in honor of Yud Aleph Nisan Tavshin Membeis Shnas Hashmenim. They wrote to the Rebbe they want to give out a booklet, want to give out a sefer, whatever. So their first idea was that they'll give out a sefer of Mamorim that the Rebbe said for Yud Aleph Nisan that will include Tavshin Yud Beis, Tavshin Chav Beis, and then Tavshin Lamed Aleph, and then the subsequent Mamorim until Tavshin Beis, till Tavshin Aleph, that is. Mamorim that the Rebbe said for Yud Aleph Nisan. So he wrote this to the Rebbe. Said Chanukah. He said Kislev time. The Rebbe answered that Ein Azman Grama to be Magia the Mamorim. It's not the time. The time is not right to review, to edit those Mamorim. And very interestingly, the Rebbe wrote to him that he should be matzia. He should suggest an alternative plan, something else to publish in honor of Yud Aleph Nisan. Heard the Maisus, I made it the Gemaisa. I think it's made it the Gemara. So he said he consulted with whoever he consulted, whatever, and he wrote back to the Rebbe an idea that to put out a sefer with all the Torah and Chassidus on the Rebbe's new kapitel, and take from Yael and so on and so forth. Take whatever is found in Chassidus from the Rebbe Seinu and Siyenu on the kapitel. So it'll be like a Shar Torah. And then to have Shar HaMaisa, to have the Rebbe's effect on the world and whatever, Pa'ulas, Muftzayim, that type of thing. So it'll be like to give the Rebbe covered and on the Rebbe's Torah associated with the Rebbe's new kapitel, and then associated then the Rebbe's activities. And the Rebbe replied to that, Ach v'rak Torah. Ach v'rak Torah, or whatever. This is not the lashon. This is he repeated the lashon to me. So Ach v'rak. This is the way I heard it from him. Ach v'rak Torah. He shouldn't do anything about the Rebbe's activities. And the Rebbe added another few places where they should look up for biyurim on the kapitel, and that became that. That's what. And then the Rebbe wrote after that they should, That's where it started. Yeah. And then the Rebbe wrote afterwards that a beautiful Tanya, should be printed with 2 ribbons and a long arichas of heiras of what kind of Tanya to print with, or the sharblads and so on, which Rebbe ended up distributing. That I was machalik that maimer. Rebbe distributed that maimer. So right, so everybody. Sorry.
The Tanya.
I'm sorry. So the maimer. Yeah, they distributed that. And often, and the Rebbe gave out that Tanya. Yeah.
That's the one he signed?
No, that was on Yechidus. You got a signed Tanya from the Rebbe? Wow. But that was in Yechidus.
And I had no idea what's going on at all. I was there.
Most of us don't.
Now you do know.
No, and now I don't, but it was even worse. I was there for Tishrei that year.
Yeah.
I had no idea what's going
It's
on.
pocket size. It's pocket
And
size.
the
Yeah.
Rebbe said, whoever is the guest, they're going to get a Tanya, and I didn't even go to get it. I had no idea what's going on.
But
And I got back to Los Angeles, and a box came of Tanya's, signed Tanya's for the Bachram, and there was one in there for me.
no way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the Rebbe's focused on everybody.
Wow.
Not
Shkoyach.
just in
Wow.
general, but in particular.
Hadam Alem Tzich Gelent. L'chaim. Shkoyach. Thank you for sharing that. It's beautiful. Yeah, the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya, V'olav b'frat. V'olav b'frat. It's not just Klolos Chassidim. V'olav b'frat. Yeah, so the Rebbe distributed the Maimer. Well, there's an Avot that how the Rebbe wants Yud Aleph Nisan should be to be celebrated. Focus on Torah. What's Torah? The Rebbe's Torah. The Rebbe's Nafshi. I know Nafshi Ksovis Yehovis. The Rebbe invests himself completely in his Torah, and the point of that is not just as Zayin Torah. The point is that we should take in the Rebbe's Torah as much as we could, and the point of that is that we should become elevated. That we should change our perspective. The Rebbe wants to take a bull eitz, a bull moyach, and to become different, to become uplifted, to change. To buy into the Rebbe's program. Sagt der Rebbe, ach v'rak Torah. Yeah. L'chaim. I get the story of Simon. What was I talking about before this? Said
Ralph.
the Rebbe's program. We have to utilize ourselves the way we are. So how do you give that away? How do you make it the Rebbe's? How does that happen? It doesn't happen by itself. You have to make space. If you're full of yourself and you're full of your mises, that's it. It's done. As it gets Yud Aleph Nissen, we have to make space, allow space. L'chaim, l'chaim.
He's not going to care about it. It's in English.
Good question.
I just want to make it. Follow the onion. You don't know the story? The Rebbe told the guy, I said, I'm not on the level. He said, but you have
Okay, Silachem Rachat Bledai, Ad Bledai, Ad Bledai, Ad Bledai, Dai, 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 Ad Sheyivlu. Meilai Mardai, Dai, Dai, Ad Sheyivlu, Sif, Sisechem, Meilai Mardai, Dai, Dai.
I'll say after.
There is L'chaim. There's a Sikha of the Frierdiker Rebbe where he says, until he was 8 years old, he didn't know what a Rebbe is. He knew that his parents are holy people, but he wasn't aware of the idea of a Rebbe. What's your makom kavua? Makom shali. I didn't see that in a while.
Ellie doesn't have a fucking book. It's kind of sassy.
I can't be separated from them.
He wants to make sure he knows that he's wrong.
Someone once screamed at David Raskin that he ran the Fashtels them and everything. Screamed at David Raskin. Someone screamed at the 770. Who screamed? Everybody screamed at the 770. No. I'm sorry. Somebody screamed that David Raskin was walking the Fashtels them and everything. And the Rebbe commented, David Raskin can't Fashtell. Yeah. So there's a Sikha of the Frierdiker Rebbe where he speaks about that till he was 8 years old, he didn't know. The words have to be read carefully. And I'm not saying them perfectly. But this is basically the idea. It's Be'erech Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Hey. Just after Rosh Hashanah. That till he was 8 years old, he didn't know what a Rebbe is. He knew that his parents were holy, his parents were great, but he wasn't familiar with the idea of what that his parents are, of a Rebbe. When he was 8 years old, his father started teaching him. His father started speaking to him about what is a Rebbe. It's a very short word that the Frierdiker Rebbe says there. And he saw that. He was like, wow. The Frierdiker Rebbe had a fine upbringing. And there's a certain point when his father started educating him, was is a Rebbe? For some of us, though we live in Der Shvi and there's so much talk about the Rebbe and so on and so forth, but for some of us, never had a father or a mashpia or whatever that spoke to us about the Rebbe and how to make the Rebbe real in our life. And sometimes we did have, or we do have, such a father, and those that have your fathers, like gesund and stark for many years to come. But we don't really take it personal. We don't really implement the idea of was is a Rebbe. What's a Rebbe? And to some, Baruch Hashem, I think that there's a positive shift in that too. Some Rebbe is just some type of fuzzy feeling, some type of emotion that you need to have. Rebbe is not an emotion. It's not a nostalgia. It's not a whatever. It's a Rebbe is a Reish B'nai Yisrael. Rebbe is this mimer of Purim, and we see this in numerous mamorim. There's certain seasons that the Rebbe speaks about. What's that Rebbe? From here you have the story of Purim, the mimer of Purim. there are a number of Mamarim that the Rebbe speaks about the difference between Amalek and the other Zayin Umes. But in this Maimer, the Rebbe chooses to focus. Well, it's not a huge focus of the Maimer. It's a different maskal of a Maimer. But the whole Maimer is basically focused on this. But then there's a certain point that Rebbe focuses on the effect of Moshe Rabbeinu and how deeply Moshe Rabbeinu affects us and how essential that effect is. But if we choose to have our own agenda, and whatever that agenda is, then we could be aware of the idea. I'm juxtaposing it with the Friedrich Rebbe. The Friedrich Rebbe knew that the Rebbe's holy parents and grandparents and so on and so forth, but he wasn't aware of the Rebbe, that changing your way of thinking and trying to shift your way of thinking and elevating your way of thinking. There's that idea. So there's a certain point of actually stopping myself and asking, how much does the Rebbe consciously affect me? My consciously affect me. Not what the Rebbe does by through my subconscious. I don't even know why and how. That's a different thing. That's on a whole different level. I can't control it. I can't do anything about it. I have to make myself a keli, and that's it. There's a certain point of how much I try to align myself with. In that kufa of Tavshin Hey, the beginning of 1945, it was 1944. It was like September, whatever, 1944. The Friedrich Rebbe speaks about it. He shares a story of a chassid of the Tzemach Tzedek. This chassid's name was Nissan Tuvia. And Nissan Tuvia was very smart. And he knew a lot of Chassidus. And he knew a lot of Kabbalah. But that was also his problem. He knew a lot of Chassidus and he knew a lot of Kabbalah. And he thought he had everything figured out. And the Friedrich Rebbe shares that the Rebbe Rashab said that he doesn't like him. Strong word. And and at some point, the Tzemach Tzedek said a Maimer, and by Chazara, and during the Maimer, the Tzemach Tzedek said something, and so to speak, parenthetically, and he said, and he continued the Maimer. A certain topic, a certain idea that the Tzemach Tzedek brought up in the Maimer, said this is atzarich iyun. This needs further contemplation. And he went on with the Maimer to focus on a different idea of the Maimer. So during Chazara, this Nissan Tuvia started answering the question of the Tzemach Tzedek. He thought he came up with an answer. So the Friedrich Rebbe shares that Hershel Paritcher was there. Hershel Paritcher was a giant of a man. So Tarab genommen die Pantoffel, he took off his slipper, he started gegeben über den Kopf. He started hitting him over his head. The Rebbe gesagt, Satzarech Iyun. And du hast the answer. The Rebbe said that this is not understood, or this needs to be elaborated, this needs to be understood, and you have an answer. So that's on a certain level. What's the point of that? So was there something wrong with Nissan Tuvia? Friedrich Rebbe talks about him, so the fact it was El Shulchan Malachim, it's pretty big to me. Friedrich Rebbe says that he knew a lot of Chassidus and knew a lot of Kabbalah. So we're not talking about some type of slouch, some type of little kids, or clown. We're talking about a serious guy. But he was lacking bittul to the Rebbe. There was something lacking by him. That Hillel Paritcher hits him over the head with a slipper. Okay, it's a slipper, it's not a glass bottle. But still, if you could have a shares that Hillel Paritcher to give him Ibn Kop.
What did Red Hillel want? Did he came up with the answer too fast? He didn't do him?
Said that it's, I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay, fine.
Sorry?
You don't know, fine.
But I can tell you what I think. What I think is that Hillel Paritcher saw in him that he was being too arrogant. That he wasn't focusing on what the Tzemach Tzedek wanted to focus on. As the Rebbe used to bring up questions, and the Rebbe used to say, "V'ten l'chacham v'yech kamed." V'ten l'chacham v'yech kam oid. The Rebbe brought up many questions, and the Rebbe wanted Chassidim to come up with answers. And the Rebbe used to say that. But Rabbi Hillel had a problem with the fact that Tzemach Tzedek said that something is a question, and you're saying that you have an answer. What I think is that
He said you have to do Iyun.
Right.
He didn't say it's a question.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. Reb Hillel's problem was he came up with the answer right away without doing Ian.
Got it. Okay. That's a good explanation. It's much better than my explanation. But I think that, thank you for sharing that. But I think that there's a certain point of that it's not just about the things that you learn. It's allowing you to ask yourself, what does this actually mean to you? What does this mean to you? You learn a sicha, you learn a maimer, Igros Kodesh, whatever it is from the Rebbe. You learn Torah from the Rebbe. And therefore, going forward, how is my life going to be different? In what way is this shaping me? In what way is this shaping the way I think, the way I behave, the way I speak, the way I act? In what way is this shaping me? In fact, the Rebbe with this is by the Rabbeim and Chassidim would demand this. What's the B'chein? And therefore, the Rebbe finished every Farbrengen, the Amaisa Hu Iker. And practically speaking, what does this mean? Every Farbrengen, every Sicha, no matter the deepest ideas that the Rebbe is talking about, and practically speaking, what does this mean? So there's a certain technical aspect of what the Rebbe, before Pesach, you have to give out matzah. That's what you have to do. There's certain times, this is what you have to do. But there's a certain point also, the Rebbe is trying to shape you. The Rebbe is trying to get you to see things a certain way. There's a very, there's a mimer, I don't want to call it special, it's beautiful. Every mimer has its own character and own beauty, and it's really, really special. So mimer the Rebbe said, Shabbos HaGadol, Tavshin Mem Ches. Familiar with the mimer? So there's a certain very painful element to the mimer. The Rebbe speaking about the avodah of Yitzias Mitzrayim in a person. The para is Eiref. Mitzrayim and para is associated with Tzimtzum. Yitzienu Hashem in Mitzrayim, that Hashem took us out of the Tzimtzum. It has to be Yad Chazaka, B'Zrei Netuya, Yodayim is Midas, because ultimately going out of the Tzimtzum is not enough. Being higher than the Tzimtzum is not enough. The going out of the Tzimtzum has to affect our emotions, and so on and so forth. But then the Rebbe takes it to a very painful place. The Rebbe says, why are we even talking about this? It's Halchem, the Zeit from the Geula. We're ready for the Geula. So what are you talking about? Tzimtzum and bringing into your middays and so on. We're in a different stage. We're focusing on different things. But that's not the end of what is bothering the Rebbe. Where does the Rebbe take this further? And why did no one even think about this question? No one is even bothered with this question. Why not? Why are you not bothered by this? And this is a painful idea that the Rebbe shared on a number of occasions. Why are you not even bothered by it? Why are you not bothered by it? So sometimes it's because we have our own agendas. We're busy with our own things. We're learning a sicha. Okay, fine. I learned a sicha because I did what I have to do. Because I'm a Lubavitch Center, I learned a sicha. I learned a maimer. But you think about it for a minute, something should bother you. It should affect you. And a number of times, why didn't you even bring up the question? You don't have the answer. Okay, fine. You don't have the answer. But the question you have, why didn't you even have the question? Why are you so cold to the ideas? The Rebbe said in a word, again, it's a painful word. The Rebbe said it al derech hatzachos. In the Maimer, the Rebbe says it. In the Haggadah, we say, after Dayenu, Allah has come v'kama, we conclude there that Keta finishes l'chaber al kol v'neseinu, to forgive our sins. So how does it come into the picture? Haggadah, Yitzias Mitzrayim, the most unbelievable moment. And we say all of this and everything that Rebbe did is in order to forgive our sins. And where does sins come into the picture? The Rebbe said this is the answer, because it doesn't affect you. So you're reading all about Yitzias Mitzrayim, you're reading all about everything that the Rebbe did, and you still remain the same cold person. The Rebbe didn't say it in these words, but that's basically you look at the Maimer. It's beautiful and uplifting and most humble, and it's also it's a call. It's not just a call to action; it's a call to make space. Make space for the Rebbe. The Rebbe is speaking about something. The Rebbe is telling you to do something. The Rebbe said earlier that you have to prepare for Mashiach, that we're ready for Mashiach. How are the two not a contradiction? Okay, fine, I trust the Rebbe. I trust you. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to say the famous sad joke of with the rabbi. You could say it that the rabbi started giving a sermon and someone fell asleep. He says, I hardly started. Well, you're already sleeping. He says, Rabbi, I trust you. So that's Chalila. That's what a person says to the Rebbe. I trust you. Yeah, it's okay. Whatever. It's fine. I trust you. That's how you learn the Rebbe's mind. So there's a certain point of intellectually making space for the Rebbe, and there's a certain point of emotionally making space for the Rebbe. The Rebbe wants certain emotions from you. You have space for that, or you're so busy with your emotions, are so preoccupied with your family and your work and your taivas and whatever taivas of kedusha, obviously, and so your emotions are so full. Or do you make space? So the Rebbe wants you to love a fellow Yid. The Rebbe wants you to be humble. Do you have space for that? Are you able to make space? Are you able to make time? Are you able to? In what way does it affect you? Your action kapashut. But to align ourselves with how the Rebbe wants us to think, not just with what the Rebbe wants us to do. That's one of the most painful things that the Rebbe said. That nobody even cared, nobody even asked, nobody even thought of a question. How is it that the Rebbe said it's with regards to Mashiach? The Rebbe said it's with regards to Tefillin. Like, how is it? Why do I have to do all the work? Why do I have to do the work of the Rebbe said that we should go put on tefillin. People ask questions. Why'd you lose yourself? Somebody asked you a question. Why'd you lose yourself? Where's your investment in it? If you're invested in it, if you care about it, you'll figure it out. You'll have a question. You'll have an answer. You're involved. It's your business. It's your life. If it's not your life, it's not your business. You don't figure anything out. Let somebody else deal with it. It's somebody else's issue. It's somebody else's problem. It's not my problem. Is that when it's your own issue, you treat it differently. You don't necessarily have all the answers. You don't necessarily have it figured out, but you can't rest, and you're focused on it, and you're driven by it. It affects your life deeply. It affects your life in a very powerful way. And I might say that would probably be the best gift that we could give to the Rebbe. To give ourselves to the Rebbe. And we should be that we tell the Rebbe, not just we tell the Rebbe, but we make a commitment to actually learn a shliach. I actually mentioned earlier the Yechidus and the people wrote Rabbi. I don't know why David Raskin, not that I feel bad that I mentioned his name a bunch of times. I think he should be mentioned, but stop, whatever. Azay getroffen. Rabbi David had a Yechidus by the Rebbe also that he sent in to the Rebbe afterwards, and the Rebbe was Magia the Yechidus. The Rebbe edited the Yechidus. One of the points that the Rebbe makes in the Yechidus, the Rebbe tells him after every time you learn something, you have to take a few minutes to ask yourself how it would affect your life, how your life would be different. And then, for example, the Rebbe tells him, if you learn a maimer that focuses on the greatness of Limud Torah, the Bechein has to be extra learning, a few minutes of extra learning of Torah. And that Yechidus tells him that in order to understand something properly, you have to review it many times, at least 4 times. Without reviewing something 4 times, you can't understand properly. You can daven with it, but you can't learn with it. Very interesting points that the Rebbe makes. Often people, you learn something one time and just I got it. Really, you learned to one time, you got it. It's amazing. But this is the idea of, I think, of making space for the Rebbe. We have to make space for the Rebbe in our mind, make space in our heart, make space practically, to ask ourselves if the way we live, to challenge ourselves, if the way we live is, if we could give the Rebbe more nachas in our behavior. And obviously, it's so difficult, but it's so necessary. Yeah, that's our chassid. That's our chassid. It's difficult. It's very difficult. It's personal. It's painful. It has an effect, and it whatever. And there's cheshbeinos. Yeah, but was kommt on? Ze lebt der chassid. Ze lebt der chassid. L'chaim. Nora, warum Mondschein? Was sagst du? Yud Bey, okay, very good. Yeah? I guess that's why I mentioned him. Yeah, actually, in the Sikha, the Rebbe speaks about, I started mentioning it, I didn't get there. Rebbe's Kapitel. Okay, schön. Rebbe's Kapitel, Purim Tavshin Chavav, the Rebbe speaks about one of the psukim, this pasuk, that it mentions it. The idea of Rasha. As Rasha, the only way Rasha is Ra that surrounds a Shin. So what we have to do is the only way Ra could exist is if there's a Shin inside. We have to take out the Shin. If we take out the Shin, automatically the Ra falls away. It has no koyach. It doesn't have the ability to continue. And one of the ways that we can make real change in our life, there are different ways that we can make change. Sometimes we have to wrestle with different things. Sometimes you just elevate yourself, and that's what Rebbe tries to do, to elevate us. And the Ra, by definition, just falls away. It has nothing to hold on to. So there's a beautiful word from Rabbi Levi on this idea. So the Rebbe associates this with afata hakei shinov. You should blunt his shin or knock out his shin. What happens on Rosh? If you knock out the shin, the Ra by definition falls away. Shinov is not his teeth, but shinov is the shins that he has. When you have to sadus so that sasan besimcha. You take out the shin, that brings real simcha because the Ra falls away and so on. So the Rebbe focuses on this idea of taking out of increasing kedusha, and that causes that Ra should fall away. There's a word from Rabbi Levi that the idea of shin. What's the meaning of atahake shin of? What's a shin? So we know that on tefillin there are two shins. There's a shin of 3 letters and a shin of 3 spikes and a shin of 4 spikes. They represent the Ovis and the Emois. So this is the shin of the different types of shinayim. Hake, that Rabbi Levi explains, is to bring out, to emphasize. So Hake, shin of, emphasize Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. And this is something, by definition, Sudah Yid, that unfortunately is in the category of the son of the Echad Rasha. But if you bring out in him that Ben Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel and Leah, this is Hakir Shinov. By definition, that falls away. And this is something we see that the Rebbe tries to do to bring out the Ben Avraham Yitzchak and Yaakov, to recognize who we are and what we are. So we have to see that in ourselves, and we have to see that in a fellow Yid, and especially to see that video clip after Lag Baimer. And those that were there might remember, especially the boys and the girls, the children of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. So, okay, that's where it's from. Maybe that's where the Rebbe took it from. Yeah. What's the lotion? Yeah, Zay the lotion. Yeah.
Especially the children.
Especially the children, boys and the girls.
Mike at the time. Mike and Hatzvi-Bais.
No, he said thank you. Yeah, he thanked
JJ.
He thanked everyone.
Yeah. Especially the children, the boys and the girls. Yeah. Unbelievable. We tired, we heilig, we lichtig. You look at everything that the Rebbe touches, anything that the Rebbe has to do with this.
Maybe handle that.
Sorry?
One of Chaim Fogelman's boys.
Productions. Mrs. Talger. Yeah. Especially the boys, especially the children. Yeah, that's the Rebbe Heptov. By definition, things fall away. Things fall to the wayside, and each one of us in our own way. Yeah, nach machen Ort. Ja, macht Ort, dass die Gezon durchgehen. L'chaim.
Where can I find the specifics? The Rebbe said for you 4 times and for let's check the list for limit Tefillah.
Ask the Chura masters for the Yechidus. It's a Yechidus of Rebbe David Raskin that Rebbe was Magia. So somebody gave out a Chura. I don't remember who it was. Or somebody gave out a Chura of I'm pretty sure it's there. But a bunch of these yichidisin. I think it's there. Somebody gave out a tshuva of these yichidisin that the Rebbe was magia. But it was published. It was published. It's not like many other treasures that were published. Yeah. And J.J. Hecht, another one of the Rebbe's mentioned, and not without fault. That was part of his beauty. Yeah, that was the Rebbe's mentioned that the Rebbe knows that give you something on agendas, on meises, on Geschäften. Ja, sie kommen die Zeit. Seine Gule Menschen, seine Gule Kinder, Gule Bachrim, seine Gule. Should we continue or you're good? It's not 7 o'clock yet, I'm sorry.
I have to go somewhere.
No? I want to give anybody else a chance to go. Yeah. Da 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 la di da, ya la da da la di da, ya la da da la, ya la da da la da da la da da da, ya la da da la da la, ya la da da la di da, ya la da da la da la da, ya la da da la da da. Hey ya la da da la 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 la, ya la da 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 la da da la 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 ya la la. Ya la 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 ya la da 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 la da da ya da da ya la la ya da 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 ya da da ya la 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 ya la 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 da 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 la la ya da da. Ya la la la, ya la la la, da da da, ya la 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 la, da da la la la, oh la la da, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, oh ya la la. La 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 ya 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 la 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 da ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ay ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya 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 la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la oh wa 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 oh wa la la ya la 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 ya ya la 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 di da la 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 ya ya la 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 ya la la da 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 ya la 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 da ya la 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 ya la 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 da da ya la 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 hey ya la 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 oh ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 da 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 la 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 da la ho ya ya da 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 ya da da ya la 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 ya da 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 la 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 Sorry? Which one? Probably 85 of them.
Oh, the only one. The one we played by the rally.
9:20. Yeah, 9:25. Yeah.
Oh, so thank you.
Well, 1 second. When do you want to leave? You're from like the younger Chavra that you go late?
Take my Bachram,
So Bachram could do things in 3 minutes. Nicht as a young.
What time's your flight? The boys are at 9:25.
Same flight.
It's the same flight.
Same flight.
So for Bring now, you're not going to stop for Bring. You're going from 7 o'clock straight to the airport. Here's it again. The one that we played in the rally.
This is not the league. It's not the league that they make. It's the league. Now that the younger you are, the more you have to like the league. I look at this. He's pointing to Gunnan.
Yeah, I'm a sift the Bachram. My son told me he feels left out. He didn't make a niggin. I would like to say one. Yeah.
This is America's.
What time were you thinking of going? An hour is enough?
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
So who went down?
It's all bad, and then they vote. And then they pick one.
Oh,
So what's this thing?
Okay, where you staying?
Right, Zeitz.
Zeitz.
2012.
Okay, for kids, whatever. You want to go? So 45.
I don't want to change. That's what we said. That's what we said. I don't want to ruin your day tomorrow.
I'm flying at night. I'm flying in the morning. Which boy? That's your boy?
That's my boy, fella.
Oh.
You couldn't tell?
They changed. They changed the whole.
After you baked the matzah, you saying you couldn't recognize him. Who's geedelt?
We're Tush cousins, by the way.
He's by Ellie, so he failed to hold this.
His wife's sister might handle. I'm not looking to be connected to you. I said
more than two.
Huh?
You're so good to see you.
We're not finishing. We're just shutting the Zoom.
Yeah, it's coming.